Chapter 110. On the field, after the shepherd dogs had gathered the flock of sheep, they started herding them forward. Just like in the Eastern Region Finals, the flock of sheep gradually picked up speed. Even if they took a little longer to gather the sheep than the previous two teams, they could still make up for the difference based on the speed at which they herded the sheep. Wu Yi and the others in the viewing hall were getting more and more excited. Zhu Wen and the others were even roaring until their faces were red. The road ahead was narrowing, and there was an obstacle in the middle. If they wanted to pass, they would have to make the flock even thinner or they would have to split up. Su Hu applied for on-the-spot guidance and gestured to Curly Hair and Bingo, indicating that they would lead the dogs on both sides to split up. Fang Zhao, who had been staring at the screen, narrowed his eyes. He saw that as Curly Hair ran, he would bark a few times. He was giving instructions. This sort of leading dog barking to give instructions to the other shepherd dogs was not rare, so no one paid it much attention. However, Fang Zhao, who had been watching Curly Hair closely, realized that before Su Hu had made the signal, Curly Hair had already started to accelerate. This meant that Curly Hair's judgment of the situation might even be a step faster than Su Hu's. If Su Hu had not applied for on-the-spot guidance, what would Curly Hair get the other dogs to do? Fang Zhao had no way of guessing. When the flock of sheep encountered the obstacle in front of them, they split into two groups, from Y to Lambda, and then gathered together again. Throughout the entire process, the speed of the flock of sheep did not change at all. Although Bingo's group was a step slower, overall, the process was still very smooth. The people in the viewing hall were about to go crazy with excitement when they saw the prompt display on the top right corner of the screen. The only person in the hall who was calm was Fang Zhao, who was analyzing Curly Hair's behavior. Curly Hair had already learned how to lead the other dogs on the field to coordinate with the shepherding. He had already adapted to being a leader on the field. Besides strength, he also had brains. The more difficult the challenge, the faster he grew. His appearance had not changed, but his innards were changing every day. Would his intellect soon be the same as that of an average adult? Fang Zhao did not know if bringing Curly Hair to Muzhou was the right decision, but from the looks of it, Curly Hair did not seem to be a threat. While the competition was going on in the stadium, the police officers guarding the airport gate were not as busy as before, but they still had to stay here to prevent any accidents from happening. The extended platform of the stadium had been retracted, and the stadium was sealed off. The sound of the audience inside was completely isolated. They could only hear the commentator's voice coming from the stadium. Occasionally, they could hear a few inconspicuous barks coming from the open-air grass field during the commentator's pause. However, the previous two matches had been normal. Once the Dongshan Farm match started, things started to go wrong. The police dogs let out a low growl, but this time they didn't bark. One reason was that they were far away, so they didn't feel that the danger was too strong. The other reason was that they were instructed not to bark loudly during the competition, because it would disturb the dogs in the field. It wasn't just one dog that reacted this way. The police dogs distributed around the huge arena all had the same reaction. The lips on both sides of the police dog's mouth curled up, revealing its sharp canine teeth. Its eyes were filled with an ominous glint, and it kept growling. "Captain, what do we do?" someone asked. The police captain had already received similar reports from the people scattered around the arena. After asking for the specifics, he discovered that it was all the same. It was only when Dongshan Farm appeared that the police dogs started to growl. This hadn't happened when the first two teams appeared. After thinking for 2 seconds, the police captain spoke to the other team members through the comms. "If the police dogs only growled at the field, don't move. Wait until Dongshan Farm's match is over, then report back to me." The competition was still going on. The people stationed here couldn't see the live broadcast, but they could tell from the commentator's increasingly excited tone that Dongshan Farm's sheepherding was almost over. They had already passed all sorts of obstacles, and their results were pretty good. "In the pen! All in the pen! Not a single one missing! 4 minutes and 49 seconds. The commentator roared, 4 minutes and 49 seconds. Better than last year and the year before. This is the best result in the past 5 years. Only 5 seconds away from the record. The police officers outside the arena looked at each other, Their eyes filled with joy, and they made a peace sign. They had all placed their bets on Dongshan Farm winning first place. This result was already outstanding enough. If there were no surprises, they would clinch first place. The police captain looked at the police dogs. Their growls had gradually stopped, and their ferocious demeanor had receded. The team members who were spread out in other areas also reported the situation there. They were all the same. "All right, everything is normal. Don't get distracted. Keep watching," the police captain said. Just 5 seconds short of breaking the first round record was a bit of a pity. However, for Fang Zhao and the others in the viewing hall, this was enough to excite them. This result was enough to crush most of the teams participating in the first round of the finals. There were still 5 teams left, but the atmosphere in the viewing hall was much more relaxed. When Su Hu and the 7 shepherd dogs returned, Wu Yi wished he could kneel down and kiss the 7 dogs one by one. After the veterinarian gave them a checkup, someone came over to feed them water, massage them, and relieve their fatigue. The 7 dogs enjoyed better treatment than humans. Fang Zhao glanced at Curly Hair. Curly Hair had just drunk some water and was enjoying the massage. When he saw Fang Zhao looking over, he wagged his tail vigorously, as if asking for praise. He looked no different from the other dogs. Fang Zhao smiled and gave him a thumbs up. He retracted his gaze, but he was even more puzzled. Was Curly Hair's change really related to his rebirth? It seemed like he had to find some time to go to the Black Street and ask around after the competition. There are still 5 teams left. Let's keep watching. Wu Yi collected his emotions and sat down to continue watching the competition. Every time a team finished, Wu Yi would heave a sigh of relief. Those teams had not taken any less time than them. Shoubei Farm in the eastern region also had a good time, 5 minutes and 13 seconds. They were in the top 4. Of the 5 teams behind, the best was a farm in the western region. They had also taken 5 minutes, but their time was 4 minutes and 58 seconds, 9 seconds more than Dongshan Farm. Teams that could enter the finals were all very outstanding. The first round's results were not that far apart, but without a doubt, Dongshan Farm's results were indeed eye-catching. When all 8 teams had finished their matches, the sealed stadium once again opened up. The previously quiet stadium suddenly became noisy. They were still discussing the previous matches. Some were happy, some were worried, some were laughing, and some were angry. These were all people who had spent a large amount of money on their bets. However, some were able to get back double the amount, while others could only watch as the money they had bet became someone else's. After the competition, Wu Yi and Su Hu had to bring their dogs through the competitors' exclusive passageway. They had to undergo post-competition inspections and be assigned a dog carriage. They also had to be interviewed. The organizers had people to protect them. Su Hu and Su Feng had also hired people to protect them, so there was no need to worry about their safety. Fang Zhao brought Zhu Wen and the others through another public passageway to exit the competition hall. Fang Zhao had just left the competition hall and was thinking about Curly Hair's problems when he heard someone call out to him from behind. That person in front, Fang. Fang something. Right, Fang Zhao. Hey, Fang Zhao. Fang Zhao turned and looked in the direction of the voice. The others also looked back curiously. When Su Feng saw the person running over, his face twitched involuntarily. Zaro Reno? Fang Zhao looked at the sloppy-looking young man running over and recalled Great General Reno's temper. If Reno was still alive and saw his descendant behaving like this, he would probably be so angry that he would take action, right? Zaro's assistant, who was following closely behind, held 2 cups in his hands. One was filled with alcohol, the other with a cold drink. Another bodyguard, who was following closely behind, was holding a fan and blowing at Zaro. After Zaro ran over, he twirled his glasses and turned his head. The assistant hurriedly passed the cup of cold drink over. After slurping a few mouthfuls, he kept the cup and stood still. After drinking the cold drink, Zaro smacked his lips and sized up Fang Zhao. The one who created Polar Light was you? Forget it, we'll talk about other things later. As he spoke, he looked left and right but could not find the dog he was looking for. Where's your dog? Zaro asked with an air of I'm the boss. Zhu Wen and the others immediately went on guard. Did this idiot have designs on their curly hair? Walk to the other side for the inspection, Fang Zhao said. When can it come out? Zaro asked again. No idea. Then forget it. I heard that curly hair is your dog. That's right, Fang Zhao replied. Are you selling it? Name any price. Chapter 111. Seeing the other party reject him without even thinking, Zaro was very dissatisfied. Back then, when he had bought a puppy in Muzhou, the person in Muzhou had tried all sorts of excuses and had not wanted to sell the puppy to him. In the end, Zaro had used money to get the person to agree. The puppy he had bought was the little angel that he was holding on a leash now. It was the descendant of the most valuable competition dog back then. Zaro had originally wanted to choose another most valuable competition dog to accompany his beloved dog, but after watching the first round of the competition, he had set his sights on Curly Hair. Unfortunately, Curly Hair's breed was different from Muzhou's native shepherd dogs, so Zaro had decided to just buy the dog and be done with it. Fang Zhao was not a Muzhou person, so he should not have that kind of obsession with competition dogs. But now, Fang Zhao did not agree. Could it be that he felt the price was too low? Zaro sized up Fang Zhao once more and said, I know that your curly hair still has room to rise in value. How about this? I will reserve it first. When the Muzhou finals are over and the official price is announced, I will double the price. As soon as Zaro said this, the face of the assistant beside him contorted. This person had been personally chosen by Zaro's agent. As the new assistant, he had already promised Zaro's agent to keep an eye on Big Master at all times and not let this fellow squander money on unnecessary things. That curly hair dog was already worth 50 million. After the finals, even if it did not cross 100 million, it would at least be tens of millions, right? What kind of concept was doubling? If he really let Zaro spend this money, when he returned to Leiju, he would definitely be fired by Zaro's agent. At this moment, this new assistant was filled with regret. Why had he not stopped Zaro's idiotic behavior just now? Luckily, Fang Zhao replied very quickly, I said, not selling. Are you an idiot? Zaro's face immediately filled with anger. Seeing that Zaro was about to start causing trouble, the assistant beside Zaro took 2 steps forward and leaned over to Zaro's ear to say a few words. The anger on Zaro's face quickly subsided, and he agreed. Makes sense. How about this? I don't want that dog of yours anymore. When that dog of yours has puppies. Oh right, that curly hair dog of yours is a male and can't give birth. When that dog of yours has puppies with a female dog, I will reserve one. You name the price. You know who I am, right? Just send someone to Leiju to let me know. If you can't find anyone, just report my name. Zaro took Fang Zhao's silence as a tacit agreement. He was about to say something when his assistant urged, Senior Master, it's almost time. We have to hurry over. Oh right, we still have to go fishing. Zaro looked at the time and got anxious. He had a fishing competition with someone. If he was late, the competition would start. He turned his head and shouted to Fang Zhao, remember, let me know when you have puppies. Big brother has money. Watching Zaro leave in a hurry with his assistant and bodyguards, Zhu Wen asked Fang Zhao, is there something wrong with his brain? Ignore it, Fang Zhao said. That brat was asking for a beating. If old Renault was still here, he would have slapped him long ago. Su Hu and the others still had to go through a series of interviews and coordinate with the organizers' publicity activities. With the Su family around, Fang Zhao was not worried that something would go wrong. Su Feng had already told him that this time, the higher-ups had spoken. No one would dare touch Su Hu. They had also watched the first match. Zhu Wen and the others were here on vacation, so they could not possibly be at the same time as Wu Yi and Su Hu. Thus, after leaving the competition venue, they went to Su Hu's Dongshan farm, which Fang Zhao had invested in. This is huge. This is all Dongshan farm's territory. Used to living in a crowded city, Pang Pusong, Zheng Huang, and the others, who were visiting Muzhou for the first time, were indeed amazed. After renovations, compared to the miserable state Su Hu had been in when he had first bought the farm, the current farm was full of vitality. A few lazy dogs had been trained to run around the farm, and the fields were already full of crops. Although the pastures were still relatively empty, the grass had already grown very well. Looking at the mountains and rivers and admiring the scenery, Zhu Wen and the others felt a sense of novelty. Their entire being felt refreshed. Knowing that the people from the virtual projects department loved this kind of environment, Su Feng invited them to Four Elephants Farm for a tour. Four Elephants Farm had always been doing well. Unlike the primitive emptiness of Dongshan Farm, Four Elephants Farm was in a fresh and busy state. It was a combination of technology and primitive environment. There were many modern aids throughout the farm to help with planting, herding, weather forecasting, and soil condition monitoring. There were also many hired workers and a fish pond. Su Feng sent people to show Zhu Wen and the others around the farm. A week passed by quickly, and the vacation time Fang Zhao had requested from Duan Qianji was up. He could continue staying in Muzhou as a composer to seek inspiration, but the others could not. The day Zhu Wen and the others left Muzhou was the start of the second round of the sheep herding competition. Fang Zhao got Zhuo Yu to send them back while he stayed in Muzhou for another day. When they boarded the flying transport, Zhu Wen and the others looked back every few steps, feeling that they had not had enough fun. "Don't look anymore. There will be more opportunities in the future," Fang Zhao said. "That's right." Zhu Wen's brain had already started to calculate. As long as they completed their assigned tasks, they might be able to get another vacation within the next 2 months. They might even be able to rush over to watch another round of the finals. It was just that their vacation time would not be as long as this time. Anyway, Fang Zhao was around. They just had to follow him. After thinking it through, Zhu Wen's reluctance to part faded. He loaded the gifts Su Feng had given him onto the flying transport and left. Fang Zhao walked into the viewing hall to watch the second round of the finals. The second round was not as complicated as the opening ceremony. It did not attract as much attention to foreigners as the opening day, but for Muzhou people, it was still an important day. Practically every household had people watching the live broadcast. Compared to the first round, the difficulty of the second round was higher. The sheep flock was divided into 10 smaller herds. The shepherd dogs had to gather all of them before rushing to their destination. Throughout the competition, Fang Zhao paid close attention to Curly Hair's performance. He watched as Curly Hair followed Su Hu's instructions and led the other shepherd dogs to gather the scattered sheep flocks. Whenever a dog ran off to the wrong place, Curly Hair would bark to alert the other dogs. In the second round, Dongshan Farm was still in first place, but they were only 3 seconds behind second place and 5 seconds behind third place. It could be said that there was not much of a gap between the top 3, and as the competition progressed, the gap would continue to shrink. This was because, other than Curly Hair, Dongshan Farm's other dogs were still a distance away from the other teams. Thus, even if they won the first 2 rounds, no one could be sure who would be the final champion. After watching the second round, Fang Zhao left Muzhou and returned to Yangzhou. Curly Hair continued his training at Shanmu Farm. For dogs, Muzhou was indeed better than Yangzhou. There were vast grasslands for dogs to run around freely. Fang Zhao did not let Zhuo Yu pick him up. After returning to Yangzhou, he did not go to the office or home. Instead, he went to the Black Street. Yu Qing was dozing off at the counter. When he heard the sound of someone entering the room, he opened his eyes and was immediately wide awake. "Fang Zhao, what are you doing here?" Yu Qing hurriedly pulled Fang Zhao to the table and took out a bottle of wine that had been hidden for many days from the innermost cabinet. Fang Zhao had come empty-handed. "I brought a team to Muzhou for a vacation and bought some stuff to send over. They should be here in the afternoon." He checked the time. "They should be here in 2 hours. Hey, why did you buy so much stuff when you're here?" Yu Qing was embarrassed. He had not helped Fang Zhao much, and the stuff Fang Zhao had sent over was worth quite a lot. Fang Zhao smiled and looked at Yu Qing's shop. It was slightly more spacious than when he had left the Black Street. "I bought the place you used to live. The house is connected to the ground floor to store goods. The shop below looks a lot more spacious. It's not as cramped as before," Yu Qing said. "Not bad," Fang Zhao said. You should get the shop next door soon, right? Hihi, you saw through me. Yu Qing did not hide it. He did not think Fang Zhao would have any designs on his assets. The shop next door has been closed for a long time. The owner borrowed too much money and was chased. Recently, he sneaked back and plans to sell the shop to pay off his debts. I have already discussed it with the owner. If nothing goes wrong, it should be finalized in a month. Congratulations. I should be the one congratulating you. You are famous now. Yu Qing poured Fang Zhao a glass of wine. Congratulations. It's just an empty reputation. It won't last long. Fang Zhao raised his glass and clinked it with Yu Qing. Then, like Yu Qing, he drained the glass. Yu Qing refilled Fang Zhao's glass and asked, "Is something the matter this time?" "A little." Actually, when Fang Zhao had first woken up, he had asked some people from the Black Street, but they had not noticed anything strange that morning. This time, Fang Zhao had come to ask in detail. "Did anything special happen the night I picked up curly hair?" Fang Zhao asked. Yu Qing looked at Fang Zhao in surprise and asked in a low voice, "Someone wanted to harm you?" Other than that, Yu Qing could not think of any other reason. He knew that Fang Zhao's childhood friend had done a lot of things in secret and thought Fang Zhao was investigating again. "I wanted to clarify some things," Fang Zhao said. Yu Qing felt that it must be what Fang Zhao was thinking, so he did not pursue the matter. He thought back carefully and shook his head. "I did not notice anything special that night. I saw you buy medicine and go back to your room. I thought you were going to commit suicide and have curly hair accompany you. This kind of suicide plan is popular in the Black Street. A few young people who came to my shop to buy things even made a bet. I have a deep impression of it. But other than that, I really did not notice anything strange. There did not seem to be any strangers around." Fang Zhao thought about it and asked, "Was there a power outage or a communication failure?" "No, everything was fine." "Did your room malfunction that day?" Yu Qing thought of something and said, "Wait, let me check." Chapter 113. Thanks, Fang Zhao said. Fang Zhao said, "Who else has installed surveillance cameras around here? We don't need the ones at home. The ones outside will do. I know a few, but I'm afraid I'll have to fork out some money to get the footage." Yu Qing was well aware of the character of the people around here, especially a few. They wouldn't agree easily if they didn't get something in return. Even if the footage was useless to them, they wouldn't give it away for free. "No problem, as long as I can get it." "Okay, you don't need that bit of money anyway. Don't follow me. I'll go ask for it. If those people recognize you, they'll definitely ask for a ridiculous price." Yu Qing closed his shop for the time being. There wasn't much business during the day anyway, so he let Fang Zhao rest in the shop. He helped Fang Zhao find a few old acquaintances who lived nearby to ask for footage. No one was willing to give their own footage to someone else, but as long as the price was reasonable, it wouldn't be a problem. An hour later, Yu Qing brought over 7 copies of footage from last May. There were a few that weren't saved locally but in the cloud. Since I didn't renew my subscription, the data didn't last for half a year and can't be found. 500 per copy. Just give me 3,500. Don't pay any more. Yu Qing had lowered the price. Those people were too good at bidding. Just an expired, unimportant footage was worth so much. Fang Zhao had just transferred the money to Yu Qing when Yu Qing received a call from an old acquaintance from the Black Street. "Hey, old Yu, I heard you're looking for last year's footage. Why didn't you call me? I have a few copies here." The person who had contacted Yu Qing was a young man who had been doing well on the Black Street recently and was well informed. He had already heard about this from someone Yu Qing had contacted, so he hurriedly contacted Yu Qing. At the same time, he had coerced and enticed Yu Qing to buy a few copies at a low price. Yu Qing glanced at Fang Zhao. Seeing Fang Zhao nod, he said, "How many copies do you have? I want to inspect them first." "You don't believe me? Could the stuff I produce be fake?" "It wouldn't be fake. You don't have the guts. But the footage you have might not be from my neighborhood. It's not too far. How about this, I'll send it to you first. You decide if it's okay?" I believe in your character, old Yu, haha. Soon, the other party sent Yu Qing a few videos. They were all from last May. When Yu Qing received the videos, he directly received the entire month of May. Therefore, when the other party received the videos from others, they also directly received the entire month of May. Out of the 8 recordings, only 3 are near me. As for the other 5, 3 are from a shop 100 meters away, and 2 are from another street, Yu Qing said. That's why I said, old Yu, do as you see fit. The other party didn't feel embarrassed. Anyway, he had already sent the video over. If he could earn more, he would. The next street isn't too far away. I don't know what you're looking for, or did you lose something? Maybe these people can give you some clues. Boss Yu, just accept all of them. At most, you can give me less of the ones that are further away. Is that okay? Yu Qing glanced at Fang Zhao. Seeing Fang Zhao nod his head in agreement, Yu Qing said to the other side, the 3 sets near each other will be the same as the others, 500%. 3 sets on the same street is still too far, 100%, 50, for the next street altogether. The other side was silent for 2 seconds, probably calculating the total price. That's it. Just give me 2,000 to round it up. Yu Qing glanced at Fang Zhao. He knew Fang Zhao didn't care about this bit of money, but he couldn't let those little brats think he was easy to fool, so he grumbled for a while before agreeing. The other side was pretty happy with the money, not caring at all about Yu Qing's scolding, and happily logged off. Yu Qing marked the videos one by one, just in case Fang Zhao didn't know the locations. After all, Fang Zhao had only been living here for a short time and rarely went out, so there were a lot of places he wasn't familiar with. After receiving the videos, the express delivery from Muzhou arrived. Fang Zhao called over Rewan, who was catching up on sleep at the pharmacy. The 3 of them had a meal together, and Rewan sent Fang Zhao a copy of the video from his shop's entrance. After leaving the Black Street, Fang Zhao returned to his place. Of the 15 videos he'd bought, plus the 2 Yu Qing and Rewan had given him, there were a total of 17 videos. They were all placed on a single screen. Fang Zhao pulled up the time of each video to the night before his rebirth and fast-forwarded it. Every video was very clear, and the sounds inside could be heard clearly. However, Fang Zhao had muted the video and stared at the screen, observing every possible change. The video from Yu Qing's shop, as well as the other 10 in the vicinity, were the main focus. Fang Zhao saw the dispirited figure. Just through the video, he could feel the dispirited and lifeless aura emanating from him. It was the night before Fang Zhao's rebirth. The original owner of this body had bought medicine from Rewan's pharmacy and returned home. Indeed, many people had tried to talk him out of it, including Rewan, Yu Qing, and a few elderly people, but the original owner of this body didn't seem to hear anything. His eyes didn't even move, as if he were a wooden puppet. It was only when he saw the muddy curly-haired dog that he paused for a moment and picked it up. Fang Zhao couldn't see what happened after entering the corridor, but there was a surveillance video shot from a slightly higher point in the opposite building. It was just enough to capture the shops below and the windows of the few floors above them. Fang Zhao saw the light in the window above Yu Qing's shop go out. Then, nothing unusual happened. The Black Street was very lively at night. Many people came and went. Other than a few youngsters who had made bets at Yu Qing's shop, it seemed like no one would pay attention to a person with no presence. Fang Zhao continued to wait and watch the surveillance video. 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. The bustle of the Black Street at night gradually faded. There were fewer people on the streets, and many shops closed for the day. When it was almost 7 a.m., the screen flickered. It flashed very quickly, only for a second, but the same thing happened in all 17 surveillance videos. Then, until daybreak, until he opened the window to look outside after his rebirth, there were no other abnormalities. Was there a power failure? Or something else? Fang Zhao rewound the time to around 7 a.m. This time, he paid attention to the time. It was 6:55 a.m. 32 seconds later, the screen flickered. The surveillance video of Yu Qing's shop flickered the most. In that second, There was almost no clear image, as if the system had malfunctioned. Although the surveillance video furthest away also flickered, it wasn't to the extent that nothing could be seen. The farther away the surveillance video was, the less obvious it was. The surveillance video furthest away from the small house, not in the same building or on the same street, had only flickered a little. After comparing the two, it was worth pondering. Fang Zhao found the morning live broadcast from that time and also looked up who was broadcasting in the vicinity of the Black Street at that time to make a comparison. Further away, the same thing didn't happen. This kind of situation only existed on the Black Street. The closer it was to where he lived, the more obvious it was. Outside of the Black Street, this kind of situation had never occurred. Fang Zhao zoomed in to 200 inches, then zoomed in on the surveillance video of the small house's window. Luckily, the surveillance video was a little further away from the small house, so it wasn't impossible to see anything. Fang Zhao cut the video and played it in slow motion. At 6:55:32, the image flickered. At the same time, Fang Zhao saw through the slightly distorted image that there seemed to be a flash of light inside the small house, synchronized with the flickering image. 7 in the morning was the quietest time on the Black Street. The people who worked during the day hadn't woken up yet, and the people who worked at night had just gone to bed. There wasn't a single person on the Black Street. No one could understand the inconspicuous abnormality that had occurred at that time. Even if there were surveillance cameras, it didn't matter if they could detect it. Even if they did, they wouldn't think much of it. Instead, they would think that someone was playing with flashing lights in the house or that there was a mechanical malfunction. After playing the scene in slow motion more than 10 times, Fang Zhao leaned back in his chair and pondered. Clearly, the abnormality in the surveillance video had been caused by something that had happened in the house. What was that flash of light? Was it related to his rebirth? And what had happened to Curly Hair, who was also in the house? Fang Zhao clenched his fist and felt the power of every cell in his body. When he had first started working out at the company, he had realized that this body seemed to contain even more power. He had thought that it was just the body itself, but now he had some doubts. After the end of days, people's physiques had also strengthened. However, due to technological advancements, most people didn't need physical labor. After hundreds of years, other than some industries that really required physical strength, people didn't rely too much on their physical strength. Thus, there was a trend toward degeneration. With the development of technology and the success of genetic technology, many diseases hidden in the genes were eliminated as early as infancy. As human lifespans increased, there were fewer and fewer diseases that could threaten one's life. Fitness and exercise became a form of entertainment. The pace of the city made more people stop strengthening their bodies. Things that could be solved with the brain didn't need muscles. Fang Zhao knew that besides the fact that he had replaced Xinzi with himself, this body had also strengthened in terms of physical strength. As for Curly Hair, Fang Zhao didn't know what had happened to him, but his physique had also improved. He spent more time running on the grass than other dogs, but he didn't seem tired at all. Oh, right. Now, Curly Hair had learned to conceal himself. He would pretend to be like other dogs, lying on the ground with his tongue out and panting as if he was tired from running. There seemed to be a lot of clues, but in fact, there were very few. Fang Zhao still couldn't find the source of this change. Was it his strange rebirth that caused this anomaly, or was it the anomaly that caused his rebirth? Had Curly Hair been affected, or was he the source of the problem? Chapter 114. Luckily, there were so many things going on in the Black Street every day. Even if someone discovered this abnormality, they would not think that it was a rebirth. They would just assume that someone had done something. Fang Zhao put away the videos and pulled up all of Curly Hair's pre-match and post-match test reports. The post-match tests were not very useful. Because there was a break after the competition, Fang Zhao could not tell how Curly Hair's body was different from a normal dog's after intense exercise. But one thing he could tell was that Curly Hair was very healthy. Other dogs would get diarrhea or experience discomfort from eating random food, but Curly Hair had no such reactions. Wu Yi had laughed and told Fang Zhao that after Curly Hair had learned how to herd sheep in Muzhou, His physique had become stronger and more robust. Although he was small in size, one could clearly see the difference in this dog when he ran. He is a natural king of sheep herding, Wu Yi had said after the Eastern Region Finals. But now, Fang Zhao could confirm that it wasn't just sheep herding. Perhaps Curly Hair could learn other things very quickly. His stamina had already far surpassed that of other dogs, and Fang Zhao couldn't say for sure whether he would continue to improve in the future. And Fang Zhao's own abnormalities were synchronized with Curly Hair's. It was just that Fang Zhao had concealed it well, so others had not noticed. In the following period, Fang Zhao was still busy in the company. As the head of a department, he had many things to do. Fang Zhao had spoken to Duan Chenji before. He could not keep doing this. Back then, he had taken over the virtual projects department because there had been no one to manage it. Now that the department had risen, many people were more professional than Fang Zhao and could handle things better, so there was no need for Fang Zhao to continue doing those things. After his rebirth, he just wanted to enjoy life in the new era as he liked and not be buried in all sorts of forms, reports, and contracts. But Duan Chenji had always been worried that after Fang Zhao was no longer the department manager, the virtual projects department would return to its original state, so she had not agreed. But as September approached, Fang Zhao did not want to drag it out any longer. He went to look for Duan Chenji again, this time with a more unyielding attitude. Duan Chenji was also having a headache. She was really scared of the repeated failures in the past. It was rare for Silver Wing's virtual projects department to rise, and she wanted Fang Zhao to continue staying in the department, but Fang Zhao's specialty was composing, not handling all sorts of contracts and documents every day. The reason Fang Zhao gave for his application also made Duan Chenji feel helpless. I have to go out from time to gather materials. Fiery Bird's game consoles will arrive in September. I will adapt to the new game consoles in September and start gaming in October. My schedule is pretty full. This was the first time Duan Chenji had met someone who brazenly used the excuse of playing games to apply for a transfer. If someone else had said, "I quit, I want to play games," she would have kicked them out of the Silver Wing building long ago. But it just so happened that this person was Fang Zhao, and he had the right to fight for free composing time. And after Fang Zhao had signed a contract with the company, he had indeed composed some high-quality music. The credit was there for everyone to see, and it was a win-win situation for everyone. Duan Chenji had no way of rebutting this. To put it mildly, playing games was like applying for personal leisure time and taking long vacations. This was indeed a reasonable application that matched Fang Zhao's profession. Using salary to threaten him? This was really of no use to Fang Zhao. He did not lack money at all. Although Duan Chenji had not been to Muzhou, she had heard from Zhuo Yu that Fang Zhao had made a killing betting on sheep herding competitions in Muzhou. Zhuo Yu had not said exactly how much, but from Zhuo Yu's expression, Duan Chenji knew that even if Fang Zhao did not work and played games for a few years, he would still be able to enjoy a high-quality lifestyle. What a headache. The more Duan Chenji thought about it, the more her head hurt. How about this, you take on the temporary position of department manager, and I will arrange for a deputy manager to handle the day-to-day affairs of the department. You can compose in peace, Duan Chenji said. She had not decided what position Fang Zhao would be transferred to, but she definitely would not let Fang Zhao leave the virtual projects department. Fang Zhao thought about it. That's fine. The person Duan Chenji had assigned to the virtual projects department as the temporary deputy manager was her secretary, Zhu Zhen. Previously, Zhu Zhen had been in charge of contacting Fang Zhao, so she had a good understanding of the virtual projects department's situation. Now that Duan Chenji was the one making the final decisions for the virtual projects department and the situation had already been opened up by Fang Zhao, all Zhu Zhen had to do was follow orders, and the pressure was not that great. Zhu Wen and the others did not feel much about the addition of a temporary leader. The boss of the department was still Fang Zhao, and they were still at ease. If they really received unfair treatment, they could still continue hugging Fang Zhao's thigh. They just treated it as if Polar Light had an additional manager. After the various affairs of the department were distributed, other than a few major decisions, there was no need to disturb Fang Zhao. Fang Zhao went to Muzhou again to observe Curly Hair's daily training and the subsequent rounds of the finals. As the rounds progressed, the requirements for the other shepherd dogs on the team became higher. However, other than Curly Hair, Dongshan Farm's other dogs were still lacking in terms of ability. Thus, after consecutively taking first place, Dongshan Farm only managed to place second in the third round of the finals and third in the fourth round. Relying on Curly Hair alone? Fang Zhao did not know if Curly Hair would have that ability in the future, but the current Curly Hair was unable to completely dominate the entire field by himself. He had to coordinate with the other dogs. If their coordination was not good and they could not keep up with the pace, they might be overtaken by the teams behind them. On the leaderboard, after 4 rounds, Dongshan Farm's points were still the highest and they still held first place. However, Wu Yi and Su Hu were very worried. The later rounds were even more complicated, and their confidence was starting to waver. Luckily, in the 5th round, because of Curly Hair's outstanding performance, Dongshan Farm once again took first place with a slight advantage. It was almost as if one dog was driving the entire field. His speed was even faster and he even helped the other dogs share the load. His performance was very dazzling. Anyone who had a slight understanding of sheepherding could see that the core of this team, the main driving force, was still that little curly-haired dog. And in the 5th round, Curly Hair's value had already risen to 75 million. In the later rounds, Dongshan Farm did not win first place in every round, but he would not be squeezed out of the top 3. His total points were still ahead of 2nd and 3rd place. There were no fixed competition days for the 10 rounds of the finals. Usually, it would be held once every 5 to 7 days. If the weather was not suitable for the competition, it would be brought forward or delayed. Muzhou revered nature, so many times they felt that the changes in the weather were also a kind of test. They would adapt to the natural weather and make changes to the competition schedule. By the time the last round of the 10 rounds ended, it was already August. Dongshan Farm occupied first place on the overall leaderboard. Although there were a few times when they were tied for first place and were almost overtaken, they still managed to persevere until the end. That day, the entire Muzhou's focus was on Curly Hair, the lead dog of the champion team, the undisputed most valuable dog. His value had reached a new high on the sheep herding competition's official homepage, 100 million. A dog from outside Muzhou, a dog that looked like a pet dog, had won the title of most valuable competition dog in this year's Muzhou final. In Muzhou, there was really someone who had jumped out and vowed to buy that curly-haired dog. Even though its value had already risen to the point that many people were retreating, there were still many rich people who were willing to bid. Other than Muzhou's local rich people, in Leiju, Zaro's manager pointed at Zaro, who was on the phone with someone, with trembling hands. He gritted his teeth and said to the others, "Watch him, don't let him buy a dog." News of a non-Muzhou native dog worth over 100 million spread to every continent, especially Yangzhou. At this time, Silver Wing leached off the hype. Under their control, every time that dog was mentioned, it was Yangzhou Silver Wing Virtual Projects Department Manager's dog. With this label, Silver Wing Yangzhou also had a sense of existence in the hearts of netizens from every continent. Wu Yi was about to go crazy with joy. Su Hu, the farm owner, was also bombarded with all sorts of interviews. As for Curly Hair, after the finals, he received his medal, and after an official interview, he was brought back to Yangzhou by Fang Zhao. Although there were many news mentions in Yangzhou, the people of Yangzhou viewed it purely as a way to adjust their mood and not as crazy as the people of Muzhou. Just as he returned to Yangzhou, Fang Zhao received a call from Duan Chenji. "Back?" Duan Chenji asked. "Back? Did you bring Curly Hair back? Do you want me to send more people over?" Duan Chenji asked. "No need, he's already home." "That's good." Duan Chenji heaved a sigh of relief. She had really been worried that the bunch of crazy dogs in Muzhou would force Curly Hair to stay in Muzhou. Today, quite a few directors personally came to look for me, saying that they would like to invite that curly-haired dog of yours, whose net worth has been hyped to 100 million, to act in a movie. They are all rather famous directors, so the production quality will definitely be higher. It's worth considering. Other than that, there are also advertising companies. Du Enchanting had never imagined that her own company would actually produce a dog with a net worth of over 100 million. Many celebrities had not reached such heights, yet that dog had been brought to Muzhou by Fang Zhao in half a year, and he had accomplished it. I have already sent you the information. Take a look yourself. That is your own dog, and it belongs to you. The decision is yours, Du Enchanting said. Regarding the matter of curly hair, the company really could not make a decision. However, if Fang Zhao was willing, they could still work together. I will consider it, Fang Zhao said. Actually, he hoped that this matter would cool down as soon as possible, but completely not accepting any advertisements and completely hiding it was also impossible. That would instead increase people's curiosity and cause all sorts of suspicions. He would accept films and advertisements, but it would not be much. After Du Enchanting ended the call, Fang Zhao received another message from Zhu Wen. Boss, when are you bringing curly hair to the company? We renovated a luxurious mansion together and gave it to him. There were also messages from other people in the department, meaning to keep an eye on curly hair and not let him be stolen. 100 million. Fang Zhao switched off the communication device on his wristband, sent Zhu Yu away, and closed the doors and windows. Come here, Fang Zhao said to Curly Hair, who was running around the house. After leaving the house for so long, Curly Hair was still very excited when he returned. He ran a few laps as if patrolling his territory. When he heard Fang Zhao call him, he hurriedly went over and squatted down. However, after meeting Fang Zhao's gaze, he felt a little uneasy and tentatively wagged his tail to curry favor. Don't pretend in front of me. I know you can understand me. In the past, perhaps you could only understand part of it, but now. Fang Zhao walked over to Curly Hair and stared at him. I believe you can understand everything. Curly Hair, who was squatting there, became even more uneasy. He shrunk his head as if he had done something wrong, and the frequency of his tail wagging decreased. He cautiously raised his head and looked at Fang Zhao. You should be aware that you are different from other dogs. No matter what changes have happened to your body, for our safety, don't behave too differently from others in the future. Of course, don't be too foolish either. Just maintain your current level. We're on the same boat, understand? Chapter 115. After observing for a long time and confirming that Curly Hair really understood what he was saying, Fang Zhao brought Curly Hair to the office. Zhu Wen and the others had said that the company had given Curly Hair a new place to stay. When Fang Zhao stepped onto the 50th floor, he saw a few more photos on the wall. Some were taken when Zhu Wen and the others had gone to Muzhou to watch the competition, while others were officially released photos from the Grand Finals award ceremony. Originally, there had only been Polar Light's poster on the wall. Now, Polar Light and Curly Hair each took up half of the space. In Zhu Wen's words, these two were both from the Virtual Projects department. Even if Curly Hair was Fang Zhao's personal dog, now that Fang Zhao was in the Virtual Projects department, he could be considered a part of their department. As for Curly Hair's den, they had remodeled an entire room. They had even hired professionals to do the remodeling and had even laid out a fake lawn carpet. Curly Hair is here. My little sweetheart. Zhu Wen and Curly Hair, who was at Fang Zhao's feet, were so happy that their eyes were squinting. They had even brought the mushy nickname Little Darling from the competition to the company. They had spent a lot of effort to specially decorate the entire room for the dog. One reason was because Curly Hair's value was astonishing and he was famous all over the world. The other reason was that when they had gone to Muzhou, they had bet on Dongshan Farm to win and Curly Hair to win the Most Valuable Dog award. Now, they had all made a killing. Those who had bet less regretted not betting more. Zhu Wen had bet more and had earned at least 2 million. This was also why he had been so excited to see Curly Hair and call him Little Darling. Boss, I heard the company wants Curly Hair to act in a movie? Zhu Wen asked. That's why I'm here. After dropping Curly Hair off on the 50th floor, Fang Zhao went to the top floor to look for Du Enchanting. He had already seen the details of the films and advertisements that Du Enchanting had sent him. He had accepted a commercial for Curly Hair and had accepted a popular television series as a guest star in one episode. It wasn't a big assignment, Just one episode. Other than that, he had also accepted a public service announcement, which had also been recommended by the company. The public service advertisement was about stray dogs. Of course, the main purpose was to make people take responsibility if they decided to keep a pet. If they were tired of keeping it for a few days, they would just throw it away like goods. They would be free, but not every dog that was thrown away would be caught in a centralized management place. Outside the central city, in the suburbs, and in places further away, stray dogs could often be seen. Not to mention the spread of diseases, there were also some incidents of injury from time to time. Many people knew that Curly Hair had been a stray dog before Fang Zhao had met him. No one had expected that this stray dog would turn the tables and become the most valuable competition dog worth over 100 million. It was reasonable for the company to suggest that it shoot such a public service announcement. This public service announcement was funded by Silver Wing. A few celebrities would appear in it, and Fang Zhao would only be a cameo. The main character would be Curly Hair. After the arrangements were finalized, Fang Zhao, as the host, would follow them to the set. Probably because of Fang Zhao's hints, although Curly Hair appeared very intelligent during filming, his intelligence was more reasonable. There were many intelligent dogs in the world, and Muzhou had many shepherd dogs with high IQs. Therefore, the cast and crew did not think that Curly Hair was an anomaly. The advertisement was relatively simple. Whether it was a commercial shot by an old partner of Silver Wing or a public service advertisement shot by Silver Wing itself, filming went smoothly. Given the filming conditions of the new era, it was all done in a day. The film and TV series took a few more days. City Hunter was a detective drama, and there were quite a few big-name celebrities participating. After confirming that Curly Hair would be participating, the cast and crew put up a publicity poster. Someone joked, "The dogs used in City Hunter are all big names." While on set, Fang Zhao had discovered that many people were paying attention to news about the game battle of the century. Fiery Bird had released a new publicity film. This time, the publicity film contained even more information. During a break, someone directly projected the film for everyone to watch. In the publicity film, the city was like a wasteland, full of desolation. Numerous helicopters flew ahead. Seeing this scene, someone exclaimed, "I know that. That was called a tractor in the old era." Fang Zhao had been waiting for other people watching the publicity film to correct him, but after waiting for a few seconds, there was no movement. When he turned his head, he realized that everyone else watching had a "so that's how it is." Sighing in his heart, Fang Zhao said, "That is called a helicopter. The transport type. Helicopter? I clearly remember it being called a tractor." That person still did not believe him. After searching, he discovered that Fiery Bird's official website had already released detailed information. The words twin-propeller medium-sized transport helicopter were especially eye-catching. "Oh, it really is called a helicopter. I remembered wrongly, haha." That person laughed and shouted at Fang Zhao, "Brother, your history is not bad. Do you play games? You must have spent a lot of effort to look up information this time, right?" After saying that, without waiting for Fang Zhao to reply, that person's attention was drawn to other things in the publicity film and he started discussing with the people around him. Fang Zhao was not too far away, so he could naturally see the publicity film clearly. It was too realistic. It made Fang Zhao feel as if he had really seen that era from his memories. Although there were videos that had been passed down, to perfectly recreate that era, Fiery Bird had spent a lot of money to hire a team of 100 consultants. All of them were world-renowned researchers who had studied the period of destruction. There were those who studied history, those who studied the development of science and technology, those who studied biochemistry, those who studied weapons and equipment, and so on. All of this was for a more complete and realistic effect. Besides the publicity film, Fiery Bird's official platform had opened up a category that introduced all sorts of things from the old era, from food and daily necessities to transportation. If one had a game console, they could even start practicing. Especially transportation and firearms, which were very different from the new era, had to be familiarized with in advance. After Curly Hair finished filming his scenes, Fang Zhao returned to the company. The handover of matters had already been completed. Now that the filming of the commercial and the drama had been completed, there was nothing else to do. It was noon when Fang Zhao arrived at the virtual projects department. Everyone in the department was gathered for lunch. When Fang Zhao walked in, he heard them discussing the tools of the old era. During this time, Fang Zhao had also heard many people in the cast and crew complaining. Why is an automatic transmission not autopilot? Why is the steering wheel round? Why are the brakes and accelerators so close? Why is driving a car from the old era so difficult? No way, I want a luxury car with the accelerator on the steering wheel. What the hell is a bicycle? Why can't it run on its own? Why is the balance so difficult to control? There are electric scooters, motorcycles, and sensory vehicles. Forget it, I won't use a bicycle. What's the point of having so few bullets in the magazine? People in the new era were already used to smart and simple controls. Not only were those things from the old era cumbersome and complicated, but they even had the feeling, why do these things exist? Zhu Wen and the others were also discussing this. With a game console, they could enter the official platform and start practicing the old era's transportation. Clearly, Zhu Wen and the others weren't used to it. Boss, our technical group was discussing new models yesterday. This year, I steeled my heart and switched to Fiery Bird's cabin-style game console, the 9th generation upgraded model. Generally speaking, the cabin-style experience is better than the helmet style, but I heard that the 10th generation will be releasing a new product this year. As for what it is, it hasn't been revealed yet. Boss, is yours the 10th generation? 10th generation. Is it really the 10th generation Rhapsody? The one that the official website said was released along with the 9th generation upgraded model this year? Will you send it directly to the company? Send it home. Zhu Wen and the others were disappointed when they heard Fang Zhao's reply. They had thought that if it was sent to the company, they could take pictures to show off. Actually, Fang Zhao had intended to send it to the company, but after some thought, he got someone from Fiery Bird to send it directly to his home. You can play all you want at home, but it wouldn't be good to be so unrestrained at the company. After all, there were other people working, and Fang Zhao wasn't restricted. He didn't want to attract hatred or affect the work of others in the department. After noticing that his body was different from normal people, Fang Zhao had set up a set of training equipment at his place of residence. The company gym was left to the others in the department, so he didn't have to worry too much at home and didn't want others to discover his secret. Boss, do you know how to drive a car? Can you ride a bicycle? Can you use a gun? Zhu Wen asked a series of questions. The tools of the old era are too difficult to learn. I have to take the college entrance exam. Yes, Fang Zhao replied. You already learned it. But I also learned it. Here. Among the few of us, only WNU hasn't learned it yet, Zhu Wen said with a laugh. WNU scowled. She really felt that it was too difficult. You guys only need to know it. When the time comes, won't we all go in and play together? Don't worry. You won't have me, Zheng Huang said. Zhu Wen nodded. Right. You won't have us. The day before, there had been quite a few movie stars appearing on the headlines of major entertainment media, but today, the top 10 trending topics of major media were dominated by news related to gaming clubs. The overwhelming news, movies, and music had all served as a foil to it. All the major esports clubs had started preparing a year in advance and had rejected all sorts of competitions. Even if they did participate, they would only send out their second or third teams. After selecting players from various games, they were all training for Battle of the Century. It was said that there were a few teams that had commissioned military academies to undergo military training for a few months. Previously, they had been in closed-door training, and it was only today that they were released. When Fang Zhao was watching the news, he realized that the trending topics in entertainment news were all esports stars, and more than 90% of them were from Yenzhou's 5 big esports clubs. A certain well-known esports player riding a bicycle could also be trending. And that was just the beginning. August 26th, Chian City's People's Stadium, which was also Yenzhou's largest stadium, Big Dipper Esports Club, one of Yenzhou's 5 big esports clubs, held a pre-battle vow. Millions of fans were present, and those who could not enter the stadium waited outside. August 27, Chian City's business center's tallest building, Jungle Light, Transcendental Esports Club held a pre-battle vow. The venue was packed. August 29, 2S Esports Club booked Yenzhou's largest park to hold a pre-battle vow. The live broadcast channel was so lively that it almost jammed. August 30, Boom Esports Club climbed Yenzhou's tallest mountain to hold a pre-battle vow. The cameraman was frozen like a dog. August 31, HWR Esports Club held a pre-battle vow on an online virtual stage. Captain Jose said, "We are the most low-key." After that, they released a video showing off their skills in old-era motorcycles and cars, inciting incessant screams from fans. A number of fans fainted from the excitement and were sent to the hospital. Although the game would be officially released in October, the entire month of September would be undergoing adaptation training. For commercial esports clubs, the battle had already begun. September 1, 8 a.m., Fiery Bird officially announced that the age limit for Battle of the Century had been increased from the original 16 to 18. It clearly stated that those under 18 were not allowed to enter. An hour after the announcement was made, hundreds of 17-year-olds gathered at Fiery Bird's entrance to hold a sit-in. They wanted to force Fiery Bird to lower the age limit to 17. Then, their parents were called. Fiery Bird's official spokesperson publicly explained that protesting at their entrance was useless. This age limit was jointly set by the Esports League and the relevant departments. It was also for the sake of everyone. Although children in the new era matured early because of the internet, and children who were slightly older already knew a lot, it did not mean that they had matured mentally. Their worldview and values could still be seriously affected by a small matter. Previously, Fiery Bird had estimated the age limit to be 16, but now they had raised it again. This was also a decision they had made after careful consideration. The game was too dangerous, and minors were allowed to enter. Fang Zhao received a call from Su Hu early in the morning. As he had not reached the age limit, Su Hu could not play Battle of the Century, so he had run over to Fang Zhao to act pitiful. His goal was to borrow curly hair. Su Hu had bought a few good shepherd dogs and hired people to train them, but the results were not good. Thus, he wanted to borrow curly hair. Perhaps under curly hair's influence, those dogs would learn faster. It had been like that back at Shanmu Farm. Fang Zhao did not immediately agree. He needed to think it over first. After ending the call with Su Hu, Fang Zhao called curly hair over. "Want to go to Muzhou's farm to play? Su Hu called to borrow you for a while." Woof. Curly hair's tail wagged especially jubilantly. It was obvious that he was very excited. He preferred to run freely on real grasslands. His home was still too small. He was used to running on the grasslands on the farm, so when he returned to Chian City, he felt that the space was too small. "Remember what I told you before. When you get there, guard the farm well." Woof. "I will get Su Hu to come pick you up." Woof. Curly hair ran around the house excitedly. After Fang Zhao replied to Su Hu was very happy. He had been waiting for this message. "I will immediately head over from Muzhou to pick up the dog." Ding. Suddenly, there was a new notification. Fang Zhao gave Su Hu's address and said a few more words before ending the call and checking the message. Chapter 117. Fang Zhao's apartment was on the top floor of this building. When he had first bought this apartment, half of the top floor had been used as a garden. Fang Zhao had not made any changes after buying it from Xuejing, only expanding the parking apron. After receiving the message, Fang Zhao walked out. Not long after, he saw a black dot approaching from afar. The black dot expanded rapidly. It was a delivery drone. It descended above the parking apron but did not get too close. A black metal box was lowered vertically and landed on the parking apron. After Fang Zhao confirmed that he had received the item, the delivery drone left. The box was encrypted. Fang Zhao scanned his identity information and the box opened automatically. Inside the metal box was a transparent box made of an unknown material. Inside was a humanoid machine that looked like a robot. Fang Zhao was puzzled. When had he ordered a robot? But when he saw the introduction of the item on the transparent box, he understood. This was not a robot. It was the 10th generation game console that Fiery Bird had sent over from headquarters. The machine was white with black stripes and a red Fiery Bird logo. This was his new game console? Fang Zhao really could not connect it. At this moment, Fang Zhao's wristband indicated that he had a call waiting to be connected. It was from an unknown number. Fang Zhao thought for a bit before answering. "Hello, may I ask if this is Mr. Fang Zhao?" a somewhat rough voice asked. "Yes, it is me. Hello, I am Zachary, an engineer from Fiery Bird's Yangzhou branch. We are responsible for the installation and maintenance of the machine. We have received your confirmation. May I know if you are free today? If you are, we will be at your place within 20 minutes to help you install the machine and guide you on how to use it. If you are busy today, we can arrange another time. I don't have anything else to do. I'm at home." "All right, then I will have to trouble you to wait for another 20 minutes. My assistant and I will head over to your place." Since an engineer would come over to install the machine, Fang Zhao did not touch the box for the time being. "Boss, what is this?" "A housework robot." Zhuo Yu had come over to deliver a document that required a manual signature. As there was a box on the parking apron, there was not much space for him to park, so he had parked in the public parking lot downstairs. He was puzzled when he saw the item on the parking apron. What was Fang Zhao buying a robot for? Housework. When he saw the insignia on the chest of the robot, he was even more puzzled. Since when had Fiery Bird become a housekeeping robot? "It's not for housework. It's Fiery Bird's 10th generation game console," Fang Zhao said. "The legendary 10th generation? Game console?" Zhuo Yu was surprised. "This is a game console?" After reading the information on the box, Zhuo Yu believed that Fang Zhao wasn't lying. "That's true. The legendary 10th generation looked like this. What does the designer think?" Although his words were full of contempt for Fiery Bird's designers, Zhuo Yu still circled the box curiously. Knowing that the engineer would be here soon, he was in no hurry to leave. Originally, he had planned to return to the company after delivering the document to Fang Zhao for his signature, but the document was not particularly urgent and could be delivered today. He wanted to stay here and take a look. If it had only been a helmet-type or cabin-type game console, he would not have been so curious. Even if it was the latest model from Fiery Bird, he would not have been interested. However, this design had piqued his curiosity. It should be an exoskeleton design. Never would I have expected to see an exoskeleton design on a game console. It's just that the exterior doesn't look impressive enough. Zhuo Yu clicked his tongue in wonder as he looked at it. He wished he could open the box and touch it. Fang Zhao understood what Zhuo Yu was referring to when he said exoskeleton. Humans were familiar with the protective outer shell of prawns, crabs, and other animals. Humans also had similar programs to protect their fragile bodies. For example, the exoskeleton-type wearable suit had actually been in use before the end of days. During the end of days, scientists had also initiated the exoskeleton project, but the technology had not matured, and Fang Zhao had not been able to wear it in battle in his previous life. After mankind had begun the era of extraterrestrial exploration in the new era, this type of technology had developed rapidly. However, in the past, it had mostly been used for military and medical purposes. The deepest impression the public had had was the armor-like power suits of the Space Marine Corps. It was not that there were no uses for entertainment facilities, but it was very rare. The cost was too high, and no company was willing to try it. Who would have thought that Fiery Bird would actually choose an exoskeleton design for the 10th generation? It seemed like when Fiery Bird had said that they would make changes for the 10th generation, it meant that they had started the exoskeleton project and had already realized it. Zhuo Yu's eyes were filled with envy. Too bad it's just a game console. If only it was a real exoskeleton. Have you ever worn that type of power suit? Fang Zhao asked. Nope. I entered the military a long time ago and studied at a military school. During my military service, I obeyed the collective assignment and was transferred to assist in counterterrorism. I was unable to go out. Zhuo Yu was very regretful. Unable to go out meant that he had not been able to leave the planet. This had always been Zhuo Yu's regret. He had thought that if he continued to work hard in the military, one day he would be able to go out. Unfortunately, he had made a mistake and been kicked out of the military. However, seeing the fiery bird 10th generation in front of him, Zhuo Yu started to look forward to it again. Fiery Bird's goal should be to let more people have a good time. Those so-called exoskeletons sold online are just for show. In terms of technology and feeling, they definitely cannot compare to the real thing. Since Fiery Bird has designed the 10th generation as an exoskeleton design, given their reputation, even if the feeling after wearing it cannot compare to the real thing, it will not be too far off. As Fang Zhao and Zhuo Yu were chatting, a flying car flew over. As there was no extra space to park, a middle-aged man in work attire jumped out of the car and showed Fang Zhao his work identification. Hello, I am the engineer who contacted you before, Zachary. Zachary looked a little like those Muzhou farm workers. He was a little tanned, his rough hands were full of calluses, and he was very spirited. After introducing himself, Zachary pressed a button on a certain part of the transparent box. 4 wheels popped out from the bottom of the box. Zachary pushed the box aside and got his assistant to park the car on the tarmac. Where does Mr. Fang wish to place the machine? Zachary asked. That room. Fang Zhao opened the door to a room that he had prepared long ago. It was still empty and did not have anything else inside. After Zachary pushed the box into the room, he started to get busy with his assistant. As he installed it, he explained to Fang Zhao the advantages that the 10th generation had over the previous 9th generation models. It will not bring you any weight and is more convenient. For example, when you are tired from playing games, you can wear it to eat, drink, and sleep. That is to say, apart from showering, you can basically wear it all the time. It also satisfies the aspirations of some gamers towards the Space Marine Core Power Suit. If you can get used to this, even if you wear the Space Marine Core Power Suit in the future, you will not feel too uncomfortable. Of course, there are many functions that the real Space Marine Core Power Suit does not have. The Space Marine Core Power Suit is a weapon, and this is just a game console. It can only simulate that kind of feeling. Other than that, it will let you feel more real in-game. While Zachary was explaining, Zhuo Yu was itching to try it out. Boss, after you try it out in a while, can you let me have a try? Sure, Fang Zhao replied. After the installation and inspection was completed, Zachary guided Fang Zhao to put it on. Actually, it was not complicated because it was automatic. All he needed to do was verify his identity and authorization. Fang Zhao could feel that he was wearing an outer shell, but he did not feel stifled or restricted. Waving his hands, swinging his arms, walking, jumping, and other things were all very free, and there was no sense of obstruction. It seemed like what Zachary said about being able to eat, drink, and sleep while wearing it was true. Alright, now you can enter the adaptation stage. I recommend that you lie down. If you stand up, once you enter the game, after a long time, your nerves will not feel tired, but your body will still bear the burden. After you leave the game, you will feel some side effects. Sitting is fine, but I still recommend lying down, Zachary said. Fang Zhao did not go out to find a bed. He directly laid down and followed Zachary's instructions to enter the adaptation process. As if his soul had been extracted from his body, Fang Zhao felt like he was standing in a strange place. He could not feel his original body lying on the floor. In front of him was a basketball, and the surroundings had become a basketball court. Below his feet was a wooden floor, and he was wearing a basketball uniform and basketball shoes. Mr. Fang, you have already entered the adaptation process. You can move as you please. We will check your adaptation level. Zachary's voice came from beside his ear. Fang Zhao did not waste any more words. He walked over and picked up the ball. He could clearly feel the texture on the surface of the basketball. Indeed, very real. Fang Zhao started to try hitting the ball. Bang! 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 The sound of the basketball smashing against the floor mixed with the sound of the air inside the ball, stimulating his excited nerves. Fang Zhao walked forward while hitting the ball. His hitting speed became faster and faster, and his dribbling movements became more and more proficient. In the room, Zachary looked at the series of charts displayed on the measuring apparatus and looked at the comprehensive data at the edge. It displayed 60. The highest bar was 100. Generally, reaching 60 was no problem. Looking at these numbers, a relaxed smile appeared on Zachary's face. Not bad. Being able to reach 60 means that you can use it normally. Adapt very well. Maybe you can even reach 70 in another month. Before he could finish speaking, Zachary became mute. He stared blankly at the adaptation value displayed on the screen. After stabilizing at 60, it started to jump again. 61. 64. 68. 72. What did he say just now? Adapt for another month. Not even half an hour had passed, and the adaptability value had already jumped from 60 to 75. Zachary's assistant exclaimed, "TSK, this adaptability is really strong." The data stabilized at 75. Zachary laughed and shook his head. "I never expected that this Mr. Fang's adaptability would actually reach 75. I'm afraid some people in the company are going to be disappointed. Previously, there were people who thought that if Mr. Fang was unable to adapt well, once the machine was auctioned, they would buy it. Now, it seems like those people might not have the chance." "Master," Zachary's assistant, Borkin, shouted. Zachary sent a message and did not even shift his eyes as he asked, "What?" "The data has changed again." "Nonsense. The data is always changing. As long as it stabilizes within a certain range, it will be fine." "Have you forgotten what I taught you?" Zachary said unhappily. "No, look." Zachary raised his head and looked at the data on the screen. His eyes slowly widened. The comprehensive value, which had stabilized at 75, started to jump up again. 78, 79, 80, 81. Although it did not rise as quickly as before, it was indeed rising. This could no longer be explained by fluctuations within a reasonable range. This adaptability is too strong, right? Zachary turned his head and asked, "Is your boss really in the arts? Doesn't he have a part-time job?" Chapter 118. Other than basketball, Fang Zhao also played soccer, badminton, cycling, driving, shooting, and other events. The feeling of realism became stronger and stronger. It was as if he was really standing in a space, playing with all sorts of tools and not entering a game. By the time Fang Zhao exited the adaptive training mode, he was drenched in sweat. When he left the game console, Fang Zhao realized that the casual clothes he was wearing were completely drenched in sweat. His muscles looked like they had really done those exercises. How magical. Fang Zhao glanced at the taut muscles on his arm, raised his arm, and used his sleeve to wipe the sweat off his face. Only then did he look at Zachary and Borkin, who were standing there in a daze. "Is there a problem?" Fang Zhao asked. No. Zachary glanced at the bright red 91 on the comprehensive statistics and then looked at Fang Zhao, who was standing there, and asked, "Do you feel any discomfort? For example, dizziness or unsteady footing?" Fang Zhao took a few steps and hopped on the spot. "I don't feel any discomfort. I just felt a little dizzy when I exited training mode, but I'll be fine after a few seconds." Zachary looked at the various measurements of Fang Zhao's body on the screen. These were all measurements taken during Fang Zhao's training and before he had completely disconnected from the game console. These numbers proved that Fang Zhao was indeed not lying. "It's my first time using the 10th generation. I do feel a little dizzy when I first leave the game console, but it won't happen after a few more uses." Looking at the final data, Zachary sighed. "How does Mr. Fang feel using it?" "It's pretty good," Fang Zhao said. "It's easy to get addicted." Zachary revealed a proud smile. "To be able to make the players feel addicted is our greatest success. It seems that Mr. Fang also finds joy in games. It seemed that this console would not be sold. Boss, can I try? Zhuoyu asked expectantly. Fang Zhao looked at Zachary. Can he use it? Zachary nodded. The owner of this machine is you, Mr. Fang. As long as you authorize it, he can use it. As he spoke, Zachary taught Fang Zhao how to set up the permissions. All right, this gentleman can give it a try, Zachary said. After Zhuoyu entered the adaptive training mode, Fang Zhao saw the number 76 displayed on the last screen in front of Zachary. Zachary had explained the significance of this number to him. That Mr. is also adapting pretty well. Zachary looked at the rising numbers and turned to ask Fang Zhao, he is your bodyguard? Yes. Fang Zhao saw the doubt in Zachary's eyes and asked, is there a problem? Zachary wanted to say something, but in the end, he shook his head. It's nothing. He just felt that the bodyguard's adaptability was probably not as good as this young man who was said to be a professional composer. Although the starting point was very high, this was probably because Zhuoyu had used many similar machines. Just now, when Fang Zhao had used the machine, Zachary had chatted with Zhuoyu and knew that Zhuoyu was a veteran. Zachary's gaze was focused on the diagrams, while Fang Zhao was looking at the machine lying on the floor in amazement. Just now, he had also been lying here wearing this game suit, but because he was immersed in the adaptation training, he did not know what the specific situation was. Only now did he know that he was exercising intensely in the adaptation mode, but outside of the mode, it was close to static, and only a slight tremble could be seen. The machine covering the surface of the human body was filled with sensors. The sensors transmitted all kinds of data to the information processor, and finally presented it in the form of a chart in front of Zachary. The overall number went from 76, all the way to 87, and then it completely stopped moving. When Zhuoyu also came out drenched in sweat, he had a satisfied smile on his face. Indeed, the experience is better than those previous game consoles. As expected of the 10th generation. I reckon that the real power suit won't be much different from this. 87? The smile on Zhuoyu's face turned into shock when he saw the overall number. I'm only 87. He remembered that Fang Zhao had just reached 91. Zachary helplessly said, exceeding 85 is considered excellent. This is already very high. My boss just reached 91. Zhuoyu felt that his ability was being looked down upon. Your boss's adaptability is very good, Zachary said. I came out of the special forces. Your boss is still your boss. Zachary could only think of this reason. After confirming that there were no problems using the machine and that it had reached a high adaptability value of 90+, Zachary was not the least bit worried about Fang Zhao's usage problems. He sent a detailed explanation to Fang Zhao and left a contact number. If there are any problems with the machine, just dial this number. Even if I don't have the time, my colleagues will rush over to help you. As he still had other tasks, Zachary did not stay for long. After giving Fang Zhao a few reminders, he left with his assistant. The box that had originally contained the 10th generation was brought along as well. After taking a shower and changing into a set of clean and dry clothes, Fang Zhao called out to Zhuoyu, who was still puzzled. Fang Zhao returned to the company with Zhuoyu. Although he had become a hands-off manager now, he still had to visit from time to time. The game console had already been delivered and installed. He would probably be playing it continuously for the next few days. Today, he would first head over to the company to ask if there were any other documents that required his signature. After making one round in the virtual projects department, Fang Zhao took the document Zhu Zhan had given him and took the elevator to the film department. The few projects that Polar Light and the film department were collaborating on had to be checked with them. When he entered the elevator, Fang Zhao saw that there were 5 other people in the elevator. There was a slightly older manager and 4 youths who looked like university students. There were 3 guys and 1 girl. The parking spaces above were probably full and they had come from the underground parking lot. The manager recognized Fang Zhao and greeted him with a smile. Manager Fang, are you going to the top floor to report on work? No, I'm going to the film department. Did you bring in newcomers again? Fang Zhao remembered that this person had brought in different people in the past. Yes, these 4 are the ones that we will be focusing on developing. The manager did not hide anything. Fang Zhao understood. These were probably the company's strategic reserves. When the entertainment market was being attacked by games, these dual-career gamers and actors who had invested in the industry in advance would be transferred over to focus on development. The 5 of them also had to go to the film department. When the elevator doors opened, the manager did not go out first. Instead, he gestured to Fang Zhao that he should go first. Originally, 2 of the youths had already lifted their feet and were about to step out, but when they saw this, they retracted their feet. After Fang Zhao left the elevator and was a distance away, the few youths who had just exited the elevator asked their new manager, "Who is he?" "The number 1 in the virtual projects department." "You guys are new, so you might not be familiar with him," the manager replied. "Also a manager?" A young man wearing a baseball cap pointed in the direction Fang Zhao had left and asked incredulously, "He is a department manager? He looks about the same age as me. Is he famous?" "Yes, from the virtual projects department." Back then, the head of Fiery Bird sound effects department even mentioned him. "Oh, right. Back then you guys were undergoing closed-door training and did not pay attention to entertainment news. That person is really impressive." The virtual projects department was established under his leadership. "He is a rising star in the music industry and an awesome person who dares to directly negotiate terms with Director Duan. In the past, everyone wanted to stay away from the virtual projects department, but now everyone is trying their best to squeeze in. There are benefits, lots of money, and a bright future. Sounds impressive, but it has nothing to do with us. He is not in the gaming circles anyway," a short-haired girl playing with a handheld game said nonchalantly. "That's true, but in the future when you meet him in the company, be careful," the manager exhorted. "Got it," the 4 of them replied verbally. They did not take it seriously. The music industry was too far away from them, and they would not enter the virtual projects department. No matter how impressive the other party was, it had nothing to do with them. At most, they would give in to him in the company. When Fang Zhao went to look for the film department manager He Hao, he was watching a live interview. He Hao knew that Fang Zhao did not understand the gaming circles, so he explained, 2S Esports Club's main player, Kuzimo. He's been in the limelight recently. As if recalling something, He Hao laughed. "That kid even dissed your department today." He Hao told Fang Zhao about this morning's news. At that time, Fang Zhao had been waiting at home to install his computer and had not followed the news. "That kid is unhappy with Fiery Bird's choice of virtual idols. He feels that they are the most professional and has written to Fiery Bird headquarters many times, requesting a change of spokesperson. When endorsing a game, the most professional and outstanding person should be chosen. However, Fiery Bird seems to have loosened up, so that kid Kuzimo is especially pleased today. He feels that your virtual projects department has gotten lucky this time and will not be so lucky in the future." These few famous esports clubs in Yangzhou were no longer closed-door training. The reason why closed-door training was not made public, other than some of the club's internal training secrets. The closed-door training was for them to familiarize themselves with the game and learn how to use things they did not understand. At the beginning, the training would not be very pleasant. If videos were released, they might even lose fans, but now it was different. Once they were truly proficient, they could release those videos to stir up fans. In the new era, there were too many esports clubs. As a commercial organization, not only did they have to ensure their own strength, they also had to capture the hearts of fans. Especially at a time like this, when it was a rare global e-gaming event that happened once every 10 years. In terms of commercial value, the esports clubs did not have to continue maintaining their aloof attitude. From time to time, releasing a few videos and accepting a few interviews was also a good thing. For example, videos of Big Dipper Esports Club's captain leading a team to race in an old-era car, or videos of Boom's team riding custom-made motorcycles around the city, and so on. And this time, 2S Esports Club was preparing to have a practice match with Boom Esports Club. The theme was a heavy-duty motorcycle. They had also discussed it with the Fiery Bird division. When the time came, the official website would release a map for them to compete on. And Cuzimo was the main force of this practice match. It's just an ordinary means of transportation from the old era. It's a little difficult to drive, but it's still easy for me to handle. Actually, I have a motorcycle made according to the old era at home. I've been driving it for a few years now, and I haven't encountered any difficulties in-game. During the interview, Cuzimo laughed flamboyantly. This time around, why did you choose to have a practice match with Boom Esports Club? This is your first practice match after your vows, right? The program host asked. Cuzimo spread his hands helplessly. No choice. Only Boom Esports Club has professional racers. The other teams are too weak. He emphasized the last 3 words. Needless to say, the reactions of the other 3 esports clubs who were watching this news would be obvious. They were also known as Yenjo's top 5, but this kid actually dared to publicly belittle them in an interview. As you all know, my other occupation is a racer. I was once the champion of the Junior Division Continental Championship, but then my focus shifted to esports and I no longer participated in those kinds of competitions. I was also unable to participate in the Junior Division competition at the start of this year. However, I feel that I have no rivals in this field. I was unable to participate in the championship, but I have never stopped gaming. Transportation from the old era is much more difficult to operate than it is now, but I'm the best driver in the team. Cuzimo sighed. I really want to compete with those seniors from the period of destruction. If you had the chance to compete with those seniors from the period of destruction, who do you think would win? The host asked with a smile. Me, of course. Cuzimo flashed a victory sign at the camera. The smile on his face was not a joking one, but one that carried a hint of arrogance. That was what he really thought. That kid is really confident, Fang Zhao suddenly said. Beside him, He Hao nodded in agreement when he heard Fang Zhao's words. That kid is a little arrogant, but his talent is indeed astonishing. He comes from a racing family and is a dual professional. He really has the ability, and he has the capital to be arrogant. However, comparing him to those seniors from the period of destruction is a little rude. He knows that those seniors could not have come back to life. Who can prove that he is better than them? Just based on his mouth. Fang Zhao laughed and did not say anything else. The interview continued. Cuzimo did not feel that there was anything wrong with what he had just said. He even emphasized, actually, I feel that everyone should face up to history. The seniors from the period of destruction have been overly glorified. What is described in the textbooks is too perfect, even fake. One look and you can tell that it is fake. Among the videos that have been passed down, not a single one can prove the situation described in the textbooks. I am a professional racer, so I have the deepest feelings. There are some things that are really impossible to do. For example, a certain article mentioned that the famous leader of the period of destruction, Fang Zhao, rode a motorcycle and fired a shot at a target. After that, he and his bike were thrown off, flipped a few times, and slid 20 meters. Then, he and his bike got back up and continued running. Isn't this nonsense? Do you think this is a circus? It is simply an insult to my intelligence. Fang Zhao. That little brat. In the live broadcast, the host's smile was a little forced. It just so happened that the majority of the netizens agreed and seconded the suggestion, strongly requesting that the historical text be deleted. When the interview was about to end, Cuzimo faced the screen. The model we are using for the competition is a heavy-duty motorcycle specially designed by Fiery Bird. It is even more difficult. To those rookies, I have one more thing to say. You should eat according to your appetite. Rookies should not seek death by trying. Just watch us when the time comes. It had been a long time since Fang Zhao had ridden a heavy-duty motorcycle. Ordinary motorcycles were easy to get used to, but this was the first time he had ridden a heavy-duty motorcycle after waking up. In the latter half of his previous life, due to the decline of his bodily functions and injuries, The research institute had developed a new type of transportation, but Fang Zhao had used them sparingly. When he had awoken in this body in the new era, those vehicles had long been obsolete and could no longer be used. Fang Zhao had thought that he would be rusty, but when he actually rode one and listened to the roar of the engine, his brain was in a state of extreme excitement. His brain's memory seemed to have adjusted every part of his body to the most appropriate level. 4 hours later, Fang Zhao came out of the machine. The excitement in his brain only gradually calmed down after returning to reality. Holding a glass of water, Fang Zhao walked to the window and gazed at the splendid lights of the city. It was already afternoon when he entered the game. It was already dark outside, but the center of the city would never be deserted just because the sun had set. The wind on the top floor was strong and chilly. After finishing the water that had already turned warm and shutting the window, Fang Zhao looked at the excited entertainment section and smiled. September 3rd, 8 o'clock in the morning. Many people had already opened the Fiery Bird official Yangju branch's live broadcast channel and were waiting. Even though it was just a practice match, the attention was not low. Fans of the two esports clubs, 2S and Boom, were arguing fervently. There were even people setting up bets. Fang Zhao took a look and saw that there were slightly more people supporting 2S to win, probably because they had more confidence in Kuzimo, who already had so many racing trophies under his belt. In the Virtual Projects Department's group chat, Fang Zhao discovered that Zhu Wen and the others were still discussing who would win last night at 11 a.m. Presumably, they would also be watching today's live broadcast. Fang Zhao browsed through the news while eating breakfast and put it aside. He logged into the game to familiarize himself with the game. This morning's entertainment headlines were dominated by the practice match between 2S and Boom esports clubs. The other 3 teams in Yenzhou's top 5 would not miss out on this opportunity to observe their opponents' abilities. Even though it was just a practice match, they could gauge their opponents' abilities based on their familiarity with the tools they used. A person who was proficient in the use of various tools had a rather strong ability to survive in troubled times. This was applicable in real life as well as in the game. At Big Dipper Esports Club headquarters, the main team members had all arrived. This was their internal viewing area, so it was convenient for discussion. There were no other gaming teams present. Who do you think will win? 2S, I guess. Even though that Kuzimo kid's words are asking for a beating, there's no denying that he is very capable and talented. If not for his young age 10 years ago, he would have already crossed swords with us. He made a name for himself in the gaming circles early and is worthy of the high salary 2S is offering. I hope Boom wins. If that Kuzimo kid really does win, he won't even need to wait until tomorrow to trample on us a few more times today. It's just riding a bike, and he's so cocky. No matter how well he rides, it doesn't mean he will have the last laugh. Not a single great general of the founding era was a racer. I think there's a guy who drives a truck, the one from Jizhou. Wasn't the one from Jizhou a retired soldier before he drove a truck? He was a driver, so he could be considered a racer. Speaking of which, that Kuzimo kid even suspected the martyr Fang Zhao. If not for the fact that people are much more tolerant of such comments and that the martyr Fang Zhao has no direct descendants, I reckon that kid would have been called for tea after the interview. If he really had the guts, why didn't he mention the great General Wu Yang, who was even more exaggerated in the history textbooks? He only knew that no one would give him any trouble by mentioning the martyr Fang Zhao. He is arrogant, but he is not stupid. He knows who he can talk about and won't get in trouble. What a pity, Captain Yi Yuan sighed. Yi Yuan recalled the day when Kuzimo had said those words during the interview. Many people online had jokingly said that Fang Zhao's coffin could not be kept down any longer. Yi Yuan's history was not bad, and he worshipped the leader who had left a deep mark in Yenzhou's history. The only pity was that Wu Yang had been unlucky. If he had endured for another year, how could the Wu family have developed? Unfortunately, the Wu family's descendants had not been able to grasp such a good opportunity. After the founding era, there had been internal strife. Even though their influence was slowly rising, Yangju was no longer a place where they could cover the sky with one hand. Many Yangju governors did not have the surname Wu. This was also something that foreigners often used to mock Yangju. Yet, Many Yangju people did not care. Sigh. Yi Yuan could only sigh. If he had been good at this, he would definitely have participated in this practice match. But the reality was that he was not good at it. Rather than go up and make the opponent a laughingstock, it was better to sit down and analyze the opponent's strength. At 9:30, the live broadcast started broadcasting the two teams that had already logged in, as well as the fans of both sides, and the players who had also managed to snatch a spot to participate in the practice match. That's right, besides 2S and Boom Esports clubs, Fiery Bird's Yangju branch had released 100 spots. These spots were usually opened to premium VIP customers first. Only when there were extra spots would they be opened up to other players. Yenzhou's Big 5 esports clubs all had premium VIP spots, but this time, the other three teams did not have anyone participating. If they knew that they were not good at it, wouldn't they be asking for a slap in the face? The background of the live broadcast was a map that Fiery Bird had released in advance. The starting point was a village outside the city, which was already bustling with activity. The black heavy-duty motorcycles at the scene were like violent beasts, brimming with power. Half of the thick rear tires were exposed, like a tyrannosaurus that was ready to hunt at any time. To people of the new era, they gave off an oppressive, primitive, and wild aura. Amidst the explosive electronic dance music, the commentator's tone was agitated. From time to time, he would let out a few weird shouts. He knew how to stir up the emotions of fans and players. Beside him, there were other high-class VIP players who were also participating in the competition. Their engines were revving at high speeds, and they were screaming hysterically amidst the loud roar of the engines, wantonly venting their emotions. The emotions of the fans were very crazy, but they were also very orderly. They would not cause trouble. They had probably been carefully selected. Probably specially designed for this practice match, the starting section of the road was very wide. At the very front were the people from 2S and Boom Esports clubs. However, they would not send out their entire main force. Each side had sent out 5 people as representatives. Their motorcycles had the decorative designs of their respective clubs on them. Behind them were the other players who had come over to try and snatch the Tyrannosaurus spots. The clothes worn by the players were also different. Some had their own logos, while others were in the default black professional attire that the system had set. They were armed to the teeth with their uniforms and protective gear. The explosive electronic dance music abruptly stopped, and there was a momentary silence. However, very quickly, there were even crazier screams. This meant that the match was about to begin. Following an explosive sound, the 10 people in front had already rushed out. Amidst the tyrannical roar of the engines, the seemingly huge and cumbersome motorcycles finally unreservedly exuded their ferocious aura. The large displacement, high power output, and other parameters were telling people that they were not as cumbersome as they looked. They were two-wheeled heavy-duty sports cars. After the 10 people, the other players followed one after another. However, they did not have a strong desire to compete. They just wanted to follow behind and have fun. Some people, because they were not familiar with driving, or perhaps because they were too excited and did not control their motorcycles well, crashed not long after and went offline. In other words, if this had happened in real life, they would have been dead. The few players near the person who crashed were also affected, and they were knocked out together. Although the few players did not go offline directly, because the crash was too hard, both the motorcycles and the people were damaged. Because the pain level was lowered in the game, they did not feel too much. Those few people were also not interested in continuing to follow. They took the initiative to go offline and watch the live broadcast. This practice match was under full surveillance. Therefore, the people watching the live broadcast could watch from the front, the back, the left, the right, and the top. The live broadcast camera was mainly focused on the 10 people in front. The people at the starting point were ready to go offline to watch the live broadcast. At this time, they suddenly saw another figure appear at the starting point. Seeing that the person was also riding a T-Rex, they knew that this was also one of the 100 players who had managed to get a slot. "Hey bro, you're late. The other side has already set off." I'm afraid you won't be able to make it in time. However, you can follow behind and have some fun, a person at the starting point said. The person riding the black motorbike nodded at the person who spoke and started the engine. The motorbike rushed out with a deafening roar. Who is that? A player at the starting point asked. Look at the motorbike uniform on him. He's not from 2S or Boom. I don't see any logo either. I can't guess who he is. Who cares? He must be a player who wants to join in the fun. Hurry up and go offline to watch the live broadcast. We can't see anything from here. Chapter 120. Fiery Birds Yangju Branch, Live Broadcast Studio. Has the practice match started? Just started. Other than the 10 from 2S and Boom, 99 of the other 100 slots have already gone online. Hey, the last one is online too. He wasn't even online just now. Don't worry about it. After all, those people are just playing around. Consider it a benefit for high-level VIPs to have close contact with the club. They can go online and play however they want. You guys just have to keep a close eye on those few from 2S and Boom. Understood. 110 people. Only 1 minute has passed and 8 have disconnected. They were all at the back. In a while, the distance between the front and the back will increase. Pay attention to the footage. Got it. Another 2 disconnected. There are still 100 left. I wonder how many will be left in another 5 minutes. There will be more crashes after entering the city. It's time to let them suffer a little. Don't think this is easy. Hey! Someone at the side stared at the screen in astonishment. The one at the back, so fast. Which one? A few others craned their necks to look. This point. Just now, it was at the back. Now it's nearing the middle section. The person in front of the screen pointed to a spot on the large screen. The map was shrunk, and every participant appeared as a bright spot on the screen. Driving too fast makes it easy to get disconnected, another person said. The others understood what he meant. The faster the speed, the narrower the field of view, and the harder it was to control the car. In a place with no one around, running in a straight line was fine, but if one sped through the bends, it was easy to get disconnected. Another one fell at the front. There are still 99 people left. I just want to see when this fellow will get disconnected. The track shown on the map started off with a flat and wide surface. The road was a very long straight line with few bends. After a while, the number of bends gradually increased, and the number of people who crashed also increased. Just as the Fiery Bird people had expected, after 5 minutes, the original 99 people online had dropped to 67. The people at the back were also being left further and further behind. Perhaps some people felt that continuing to run was pointless, so they took the initiative to stop and log off. This way, the number dropped at a rapid pace to 51 people. Those who watched the live broadcast would also find their own entertainment. A few entertainment studios also saw an opportunity to attract traffic. Because there were so many people crashing, Fiery Bird's official live broadcast was also prohibited from recording. They could only use screenshots. Every time they saw a crash, they would excitedly take a screenshot and post it. They wanted to let everyone see what kind of posture those people had when they crashed and comment on who had crashed with more vigor. Even a professional racer would face the danger of crashing at any time when speeding through a bend. Pictures of sliding, high tosses, and other crashes in the screenshots were added to the post. As the race progressed, more crashes would be added. The pictures also indicated which racers had been directly thrown offline, which ones had been dragged down, and which ones had dropped out due to injuries. Even though their professional racing suits and protective gear could arm every contestant to the teeth, they had been driving too fast, and the crashes were too violent. Almost half of them had directly disconnected. To them, this was just a game, and there was no real accident. Therefore, they were just joking around with each other as if they were playing a game. In the eyes of the viewers watching the live broadcast, these were just jokes, but for those who had been professional racers before, they had already cast aside the boundary between the game and reality when they were riding, and treated it seriously, even if it was just a practice race. Leading the way were 2S esports clubs Cosimo and Boom esports clubs Olaf. They had already gradually pulled away from the rest. The 10 contestants from 2S esports club and Boom esports club had pulled away from the rest of the contestants not long after the competition had begun. In addition, they were the highlight of the competition and were called the top 10 camp, so the camera was mainly focused on them. The rest of the contestants were in separate shots. But as the competition progressed, the distance between the professional racers Cosimo and Olaf and the other 8 contestants in the top 10 camp grew. In the end, the front camera was split into 2, with one shot for Cosimo and Olaf, and the other for the other 8 contestants in the top 10 camp. Cosimo was a big mouth, but as a professional esports player and professional racer, he had adjusted his attitude towards the race quite well. At this time, 20 minutes had passed. A contestant from 2S esports club, who was in 10th place in the top 10 camp, had not heard any sound from behind him for a few minutes. He couldn't help but feel pleased. See, amateurs will always be amateurs. They can't compare to us professional gamers. Even if we aren't professional racers, as the main force of esports, our overall abilities are much higher than those of amateurs. We can still crush them all the same. Now we're leaving them far behind. In other words, from now on, those outsiders have nothing to do with us. When they first started riding, they were especially careful. But as they became more familiar with the technique, they wanted to go wild and experience the passion of racing. The thrill of racing became even more intense, and they enjoyed it very much. At the same time, they wanted to show off and attract even more fans. However, he was also dissatisfied with being in 10th place. The person in 9th place in front of him was someone from Boom Club. He had to overtake him. After 2 more turns, they would be entering the city. The difficulty of the latter part would be even greater. It would be best if he could overtake them before entering the city. Why was there still a sound behind him? Furthermore, it sounded like the sound was getting closer. Someone's catching up. Surprised that someone could actually catch up to him, he was distracted. In his panic, he made another mistake. He went off the curve and fell down the hill. The Boom esports club member, who was in 9th place, heard the sound of someone falling down the hill behind him and was secretly pleased. He fell. He was very happy that the person who had been chasing closely behind him, a member of the opposing team, had finally fallen. Up until now, there was only one person in the top 10 camp who had fallen. How embarrassing. When the time came, he could use this incident to step on 2S. But very quickly, the joy in the 9th place player's heart dissipated, because he heard the sound of an engine getting closer and closer. How is that possible? Didn't he just fall down the hill? Even if he could continue running, he wouldn't be able to catch up to him so quickly, let alone falling offline. But if it wasn't the other party, who could it be? Thinking of a possibility, the 9th place player could not suppress his curiosity. He turned his head and looked behind him. Just that one look made him regret it. From time to time, there would be some rocks on the road. They were larger and more conspicuous. As long as he avoided them, it would not be difficult. But when he looked back out of curiosity, he realized that the other party was wearing the default outfit and not the opponent who had been chasing closely behind him. He was surprised. Seeing that the other party was closing in, he panicked. He was distracted for too long, and when he looked forward again, he realized that there was another rock on the road, and it was very close. Even if he dodged at the last moment, he still brushed against it. Both he and the car slid forward, and he was thrown out of the car. As he rolled on the ground, he saw the approaching car from the corner of his eye. At this speed, the other party would have to rush towards him to avoid the rock, and that was what the other party had done. Screech, the friction between the high-speed wheels and the ground made an ear-piercing sound. The roar of the engine seemed like it was venting its dissatisfaction, and the shock made people's thoughts scatter. The person who was originally ranked 9th on the ground was unable to stop his fall. His vision was still swaying, and he could only see a black shadow brushing past him. It was like a ghost had strangely turned around in front of him and disappeared in a flash. Only the feeling of being blown by the strong wind was still lingering on his body. The ear-piercing friction in his ears disappeared, and the roar of the engine gradually faded away. He struggled to get up and look at the ground around him. There was only the strange arc of the tires rubbing against the ground. Every part of the car seemed to have been burned by the tires on the road, and the fiery atmosphere from the scene just now remained. Even though it was only in the game, he could feel the cold sweat on his back. It was as if a piece of ice was pressing on his scalp through his helmet. It felt like he had luckily survived a giant foot stomping on his head. His heart was still beating violently, and his brain had not recovered from the scene just now. He stood there in a daze, and when he woke up and looked at the road again, the other party was nowhere to be seen, and the person who had been staring at the live stream and preparing to take a screenshot had forgotten his original goal at that moment. His eyes were completely captured by the thrilling scene. The people who were watching the live stream were also excited. Fuck, who was that lunatic who just passed by? No. I don't know. That scene was too thrilling, and we almost collided. Maybe we didn't collide just now? He dodged it like that. He didn't flip over. Who saw how he dodged it just now? I feel like my mind is blank when I think about it now. Where's the professional screenshot? Did anyone get it? Which esports club's main player put on a different avatar? I don't think so. If it was another esports club, with this kind of technology, they would definitely put on their own club's logo with great fanfare. That person just now was wearing the default logo of the system. Could it be that some professional racer is planning to play? Very likely. That can't be right. I saw the official announcement yesterday. Other than 2SS Kuzimo and Boom's Olaf, there are no professional racers participating. Then who was that person just now? Did he come here just to cause trouble? Ha ha ha, 2 of the top 10 teams actually fell in fright. Looking at this situation, it's hard to say who will have the last laugh. Now that there's this mysterious person, I wonder how many more people will be able to overtake. Chapter 121. Everyone had thought that this practice match would only be a showdown between 2S and Boom, the 2 leading esports clubs. Little did they expect that a mysterious figure would appear out of nowhere. The onlookers got excited and started discussing it in their chat groups. Judging from his drift during the turns, he should be a professional racer. Looks like Fiery Bird's official information might not be complete. Not necessarily. He could be an expert from an amateur competition. Isn't there a saying, the experts are among the people? There were all sorts of speculations online. The people at Fiery Bird's Yangju branch were also feeling helpless. They had seen everything clearly. They had been paying attention since the mysterious figure had rushed up from behind, but they had not expected that the moment he reached the top 10 camp, he would take down 2 professional gamers. We screened the VIP customers who managed to get a spot. There really isn't anyone certified as a professional racer. If there was, we definitely wouldn't have missed it, a staff member in the broadcast studio said. Then he should be an amateur professional gamer. The so-called amateur professional gamer was someone who did not have an official certification but was focused on it. Plus, they were good at racing and might not lose to professional racers or gamers. Could he be a reserve talent from some esports club? As a reserve talent, he might not have been certified. That's possible. Whatever it is, keep watching. This could be considered a pleasant surprise. Which club would win this practice match was not that important to them. What their department cared about was the number of online viewers. What they cared about was whether they could use this matter to advertise the company's extended brand. The technical department would also take this opportunity to do some tests. This additional surprise could better satisfy their requirements, which was exactly what they wanted. At that moment, Silver Wing's virtual projects department was also buzzing. Zhu Wen and the others, who were watching the match, had not seen the scene. They had been paying attention to the battle between Kuzimo and Olaf. Someone in the chat group had mentioned it, so they had switched over just in time to see the mysterious figure who had caught up to the top 10 camp and overtaken 2 others. I wonder if Boss saw it. Remind him not to miss out on watching the show. Zhu Wen dialed Fang Zhao's number, but no one picked up. It was a busy message. Maybe Boss is busy. Forget it, I'll leave him a message. Because the mysterious figure had charged straight into the top 10 camp, the number of people paying attention to the second shot increased. The number of people watching also exceeded the first shot where Cosimo and Olaf were. 7th. Looks like he can overtake a few more. Take note of the screenshot. Don't be stunned this time. He would have definitely crashed into the person or car in front of him. Unfortunately, the mysterious person seemed to have predicted the opponent's trajectory and avoided the crash. HWR's captain, Jose, narrowed his eyes as he watched the scene unfold. An expert. His ability to predict is very strong. It's normal that Jabbar didn't stop him. At least Jabbar can still report that he did his best after logging off. John, the vice-captain of HWR, nodded in agreement. We've lost another player. Now it's up to Yusukai to stop him. If he can't, it'll be a battle for the top 3. As soon as John finished speaking, Yusukai, the vice-captain of Boom Esports Club, who was in 3rd place, seemed to be distracted. He lost control of his car as he made a turn and crashed into a streetlight on the side of the road. The lamppost snapped and fell down. There was a car parked on the other side of the road. The other end of the lamppost was on top of the car. The lamppost was blocking the narrow road, forming a trapezoidal gap. Although it didn't block the entire road as Yusukai had expected, the gap was enough to block the car behind him. Yusukai is really ruthless. Who knows how many times he's practiced in private. This is the vice-captain's boldness. He's much more ruthless than Jabbar, knocking himself out of the game. But he should be able to complete his mission this time. This threat is stopped. He's not going to stop. On the screen, the figure continued to move forward. According to the height between the fallen lamppost and the ground, the car wouldn't be able to pass even if it wasn't a person. The front of the car would definitely crash into the lamppost. They either had to stop and think of a way to get the car over, or they had to change lanes and find another way to continue chasing. Either way, it would definitely take some time. In a high-speed race like this, every second delayed meant that the 2 professional racers in the lead would be left behind. If he doesn't stop, he's going to crash. He's going to crash, fuck. Jose, the captain of HWR, cursed as he stared at the screen. The figure on the screen swung its body as it approached the lamppost. The entire car tilted and drifted through the gap under the lamppost. The screeching sound of the tires rubbing against the ground made it feel like the car was about to burst into flames. Just when everyone thought the car would crash, the car that had drifted through the gap between the lamppost and the ground rose up again. Moreover, the side of the car was now straight, and the engine roared as it continued to move forward. How is that possible? Can he really do that? Just a slight graze and he'll be knocked out of the game. How did he just pass? It's already tilted like that, and he still hasn't fallen? I think gravity has been ridiculed. No, I think I've been ridiculed. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed it. This doesn't seem like a stroke of luck. The people who were watching the livestream were also amazed by the scene that just happened. They thought that it was impossible, but it happened right in front of their eyes. The game was a simulation of reality, so in reality, that person should be able to do the same. Yusukai, the vice-captain of Boom Esports Club, who had crashed into the lamppost and been knocked offline, immediately came out of the gaming pod after the game over notification. Did you stop him? He asked his teammates impatiently. However, his teammates had strange expressions and were silent. When the sound of the engine on the livestream drew Yusukai's attention, he knew that he hadn't been able to stop him. Yusukai's face was pale, as if he had thought of something terrifying. Who's that guy? Yusukai asked his teammates. We just asked. He's not from the Big Five. I don't know where he's from, but I feel like he's very scary. He might be a big threat to us. Professional racer? That's not right. If he's a professional racer, he's definitely certified. Fiery Bird wouldn't have missed this information. It's a pity that he's anonymous. All his identity information has been covered. Even if we ask Fiery Bird, they wouldn't check their client's information. At the same time, The people in the live broadcast room at Fiery Bird's Yangju branch also wanted to know the identity of the mysterious person who had suddenly appeared, but the other party's high-class VIP status made them somewhat hesitant to investigate. Even if the other party was just an ordinary customer, investigating the other party's hidden ID for this matter was against professional ethics. Fiery Bird's rules were still very strict. If we can't check the ID, then check the other party's registration date, someone said. In order to respect the client's privacy, they couldn't check too much, especially when the client was hiding his ID. They couldn't check just because he was a company employee, but checking the registration date was still possible. The registration date of the personal terminal is September 1st this year. Only one account, no other aliases. First time playing our game? Newbie? Or someone who just met the age requirement? All games produced by Fiery Bird had a common ID. As long as one registered, they could be used in all the games produced by Fiery Bird. Although Battle of the Century had only opened up some practice platforms this year, the company still had other games. As long as one met the age requirement, before Battle of the Century, they would definitely use other games to practice. Not necessarily. Maybe it's just his first time playing our company's game. He registered his company's ID for the first time on September 1st. Senior VIP user, registered on September 1st this year, very strong ability, causing people from the big two to suffer in succession. What kind of person is he? Playing games did not necessarily mean one was healthy. They could be disabled or weak, but as long as their brain was active and their control was strong, a gaming console could make a name for themselves. A former Fiery Bird CEO had once said, "Through games, you can see a person's soul." And now, that mysterious person was like a huge, invisible beast hiding in the darkness that had finally reached out with its sharp claws. Chapter 122. Only 3 left. Who would have thought that an ordinary practice race would see a fight for the top 3? The other esports clubs were also paying attention to this final battle. Some of the competitors who had training assignments had been called over by their team leaders to watch. Of the 10 people from 2S and Boom who had participated in the practice race and the 100 who had come to watch, there had been a total of 110 people. Now, there were only 3 left. The others had either crashed or had been left too far behind to continue running. They had all logged off to watch, especially those who had been left behind in the first 10 camps. Although they had not crashed, it was too difficult to catch up. They might as well log off early to observe the situation in front. As a result, only 3 people were still online. Kuzimo and Olaf had been leading the race, and the gap between them had not widened. Sometimes Kuzimo was in the lead, and sometimes Olaf would successfully overtake him. Overall, Kuzimo was in the lead most of the time, and now he was in the lead. Olaf was a little anxious, but he did not lose his cool. He was older than Kuzimo and had more racing experience. Although he was not as talented as Kuzimo, he was diligent enough and was usually more level-headed. All he did was follow closely behind, maintaining a distance of 20 to 50 meters and not falling further behind. Kuzimo, who was leading the race, was pleased with himself, but he did not let it get to his head. He knew that he could not afford to be distracted. He had to maintain his lead to the end. According to the map, they would be out of the city in about 10 minutes. Once they were out of the city, they would reach the finish line. At this moment, Olaf, who was behind, felt his heart skip a beat. He felt that someone was chasing them. They were on a Y-shaped viaduct. Kuzimo and Olaf were on one side of the Y, and on the other, a figure appeared. At the point where the 2 viaducts met, the figure cut in between Kuzimo and Olaf like lightning. The main shot of Kuzimo and Olaf and the secondary shot of the mysterious figure behind them overlap. They had actually caught up. This was the thought in the minds of everyone watching the live broadcast. Olaf, who had been overtaken, was so shocked that he lost his balance and almost skidded. Looking at the person in front of him, he was wearing the default black racing suit. There was nothing special about him. Who the hell was this? Not just Olaf, even Kuzimo, who was leading the pack, was shocked. There was a third person. Apart from him and Olaf, there was a third professional racer participating in this practice race. Cosimo could not understand. That was impossible. Previously, Fiery Bird had already said that no professional racers had joined. Then who could it be? If he wasn't a professional racer, could he have been sent by some club to cause trouble? As a professional racer, Cosimo did not turn his head to look like his teammates. Even though he heard the sounds behind him, his heart was filled with curiosity. He continued to stare at the road in front of him. The driver only had the front, not the back. He only needed to look at the road ahead. No matter who was chasing after him, no matter which faction they belonged to, he just needed to maintain his advantage until the end. However, the sudden appearance of this person still put a certain amount of pressure on Cosimo's heart. Although Olaf's ability was on par with his, they were old rivals and had sparred many times in private. They both understood each other's routines. However, this person who had suddenly appeared was different. Cosimo had no idea where he came from or what his goal was. Due to the sudden appearance of the car behind him, Cosimo accelerated once again. Since the other party had been able to chase him all the way here, if he continued at his current speed, he would definitely be overtaken. To maintain his lead, Cosimo had no choice but to continue accelerating. Although his control would decrease if he continued to accelerate, and if he was not careful, an accident could happen, Cosimo could only do so. Because of the appearance of this third person, not only did Cosimo accelerate, but Olaf also accelerated. He had already been left in third place, and if he were to be left behind, he would lose face. The three figures sped along the road, chasing closely. Two professional racers and a suspected professional racer made this race even more intense. Every time they turned a corner, it felt like they were drifting diagonally, giving people the feeling that they would slide off the track at any moment. Even the people watching the live broadcast started to get nervous and excited. If a car like that was placed in front of me, I wouldn't even be able to lift it up. But those three people can actually drive like that. Even in a game, it's rare. It's like an art performance. Amazing. Every time I see them turn a corner, I feel like they are going to fall off. Yet, they don't fall at all. If it were me, I would have fallen off long ago. People like them are probably the kind who have already mastered exceptional driving skills. The legendary man and car as one. It's like they have reached a realm that no ordinary person can surpass. Some fans stared at the screen in admiration. However, compared to the audience, the people from the clubs saw more problems. Don't you guys feel that mysterious person seems to be playing with them? Big Dipper Esports Club captain Yi Yuan asked. Yi Yuan's words made everyone fall silent. They did feel that way, but deep down, they were unwilling to admit it. Who would drive at such a speed just to play with people? Weren't they afraid that they would accidentally fall off while pretending to be impressive? But they had seen the mysterious person steadily overtake the cars, but after catching up, he did not overtake them. Even though Cosimo had also increased his speed, they felt that the mysterious person should still be able to overtake the cars. But now, it seemed like he was planning on playing with Cosimo and Olaf. It should be soon, the Big Dipper Esports Club leader said. We're almost out of the city. This competition should be over. Since the other party has been chasing us all the way, he definitely won't just be stuck in second place. Cosimo was very annoyed now. He realized that he could not shake off the person behind him, and he was very close, much more difficult to deal with than Olaf. There was no need to mention how stifling this feeling was. Not only the people watching the live broadcast, even Cosimo himself felt like he was about to be overtaken. This made him even more anxious. Even if he had lost to Olaf, he would not have felt this way. But to lose to someone whose background was unknown, that was not so pleasant. Right now, he did not want to guess which camp the other party was from, but Cosimo had a feeling that the other party's goal in this competition was probably him. It was as if he was being stared at by a pair of sharp eyes hidden in the darkness, ready to bite at any moment. Cosimo felt the hair on his back stand on end. He kept telling himself to calm down, but as time passed, Kuzimo could not calm down. He had rarely been so pressured by anyone before. The only person who could give him such pressure was his racing coach, but even the pressure from his racing coach could not compare to what he was feeling now. As they neared the exit of the city, the uneasiness in Kuzimo's heart grew stronger, until his sharp ears caught the sound of tires rubbing against the ground and the roar of an engine. The other party was going to overtake them. Kuzimo almost reflexively moved his car to the side to block the other party's path of overtaking. He did not want to lose his lead, so he chose to block the person behind him. But almost at the next moment, Kuzimo knew he was in trouble. The other party had just fainted. Just as Kuzimo moved to block, the person behind him had already rushed up from the other side. In the past, Kuzimo had overtaken others like this countless times on the racetrack, but he had not expected that today, in this competition, he would be overtaken in the same way. At that moment, Kuzimo felt as if time had slowed down. He could only watch as a black motorbike, which the system had recognized, and a person without any insignia on it, passed by him. Without any insignia? Who was it? The advantage he had maintained all this time had been lost just like that. At this speed, he could not afford to be distracted for even a moment. Before this, Kuzimo had done well, but now, as the figure passed by him, Kuzimo suddenly felt discouraged and defeated. He even felt a little resentful. Screech, bang! Kuzimo's car crashed into the guardrail on the side of the road. He was thrown off the bike and rolled a few times on the road. But as a racer, he knew better than others how to protect himself in a sudden accident. So, even though he had crashed hard, he had not been knocked off the line. Behind him, Olaf also came to an abrupt stop. When Kuzimo had been thrown off the bike, he had been right in front of him. He also knew that Kuzimo had not done it on purpose. It was just an accident. But no matter what, one had crashed, and the other had come to an abrupt stop. There was no way they could continue chasing. But contrary to what Olaf had expected, the figure that had overtaken the front suddenly reared up with its rear wheels. The front wheels continued to slide forward, almost as if it was upside down. It hung in the air and made a 180-degree turn. The body of the bike was facing forward, but now it was facing Kuzimo and Olaf. The moment the rear wheels touched the ground, it was like the claws of a running beast had finally stopped moving. The screeching sound of the tires scraping the ground stopped, and the roar of the engine stopped. This heavy machine, known as the T-Rex, finally stopped breathing, but the burning smell still lingered in the air. The other party sat in the car not far away, quietly watching them. The system had recognized that the face was hidden by a black helmet, so they could not see it. There were no insignia on it, so they could not guess its identity. But based on the way the other party had overtaken them, Kuzimo and Olaf were certain that the other party had a powerful background. Olaf, who was still riding the bike, and Kuzimo, who had not fallen off the line but was unable to stand up immediately, could not help but feel nervous. They were both riding the bike, but Olaf felt like he had to lower his head. For Kuzimo, who had thought that he could win this practice match, it was indeed a blow to his head. "I think he's targeting me," Kuzimo said. "Did you offend someone?" As soon as Jabbar asked the question, he realized that there was something wrong with it. They all knew what kind of person Kuzimo was, and there were plenty of people who disliked him. This kid was too arrogant because he was smart and skilled, and he attracted a lot of hatred. This time, he must have really pissed off someone powerful. If you really have a problem with Kuzimo, you can just say it. "There's no need to be so ruthless," a team member said in a low voice. The people around him didn't say anything. They knew that to Kuzimo, simple words would not be able to make him take it to heart. Only facts could make him see the truth. Regardless of how the club viewed this matter in private, when it came to the surface, they had to defend Kuzimo. They were a team. Captain Xie he noticed that Kuzimo was not in a good mood. He raised his hand to signal for the others to pause their questioning. He looked at Vice Captain Abu, who had just walked in. "Did you find out where that person came from?" Vice Captain Abu shook his head. Fiery Bird said that the other party was a high-class VIP user who hid his ID. They have to respect the privacy of their customers and will not divulge any relevant information. Bang! Kuzimo violently pounded the table in front of him. His eyes were bloodshot, and he was panting heavily. He was furious. It doesn't matter. The next time I see him, I'll definitely recognize him, Kuzimo said through gritted teeth. He glanced at him. Kuzimo, you're too impatient. Sorry. Kuzimo was more reserved in front of this captain. No matter how insolent he was, he did not dare to be in front of the captain and vice-captain. This is a good thing for you, he said. Don't think that just because you perform well during training, you're the best in the world. There are many experts out there. This was just a single event, used as a warm-up and to coordinate with the publicity. It won't have much of an impact on the official game. Just treat this as a lesson. Alright, let's go to the conference room and analyze this practice race. Those who had been distracted and crashed during the practice race were starting to feel uneasy. They knew that they would definitely be reprimanded during the meeting. The members of the esports clubs had gone to hold an analysis meeting for this practice match, while the racing circle had begun to take this opportunity to explain to people how to bend the corners skillfully, and the stuntmen had recreated scenes that seemed impossible. These movements are actually very simple. Many drivers who specialize in stunts can do them. It's just that cars from the old era are a little more difficult. The captain of a certain stunt team released a video of himself and his teammates performing stunts on Fiery Bird's online training platform. Although it was not the T-Rex model used in the practice race, the stunts had attracted many viewers. Techniques such as pulling, backflipping, sitting, spinning, and drifting were demonstrated one by one, including the scene in the live broadcast of the practice race where the silhouette drifted diagonally across the gap between the fallen lamppost and the ground. It was reproduced, and the viewers were thoroughly addicted to it. At the end of the video, the captain of the stunt team calmly said, "What you are watching is just an edited video. Actually, many times, we have to do it 10 or even 100 times before we succeed. For example, this, and this." He clicked on a few screenshots. Among them was the scene where the silhouette drifted diagonally under the lamppost and the final scene where the front wheels slid and turned 180 degrees. They had practiced many times before succeeding in these two scenes. Driving that car, and driving it at that speed, to complete those few movements is really not easy. It is basically impossible unless you are a professional stunt driver. Frankly speaking, professional racers like us either focus on stunts and focus on technique, or race and focus on speed. It's not that there aren't people who can balance both, but to be able to do it at this level is definitely a gamer. In real life, no one would dare to be so crazy. Those who dare are already in the hospital. The accumulation of injuries and illnesses will cause serious damage to the body. Therefore, my judgment is that the other party is an expert in racing games. As a professional stunt driver, the captain's judgment was indeed very convincing. After him, a few other professional stunt drivers and racers left comments in agreement. Thus, very quickly, the media came up with the conclusion of the racing circle. The mysterious person was an expert in racing games. Only in the game, no matter how much you fell, no matter how many times you fell, the body would not be seriously affected. There would be no fractures, and there would be no life-threatening injuries. But as for which god in the gaming circle this person was, there was still no answer. This was known as the biggest mystery before the launch of Battle of the Century. After the practice race, Fiery Bird also released the highlights of the race. Those who had missed the live broadcast because they had chosen the camera angle could now finally see how the mysterious person had overtaken all the cars. Watching the live broadcast was one kind of feeling, but watching the post-race editing was another. During the live broadcast, people paid attention to the rankings of the people in the race, whether there were any crashes, whether there were any overtakes, and so on. But watching the editing and watching the speeding figures on the screen against the backdrop of the old era, people seemed to see the situation of that era. They deeply felt the excitement of the old era culture and the passion of racing colliding. The olden era's setting, olden era's racetracks, olden era's transportation tools. They had no way of understanding how olden era people lived, but they could see from this competition that there should have been many people with similar hobbies back then. The period of destruction had been 100 years, and the new era had been 500 years. More than 600 years had passed. More than 600 years ago, had there been a group of youths riding old-era motorcycles on the same city's racetrack? No one could stay young forever, but there would always be people who stayed young. After Fang Zhao logged out of the game, he stood at the window and enjoyed the breeze, calming his excited mind. He checked the notification on his communicator and called back. "Hey, boss. Did you watch the race between 2S and Boom?" Zhu Wen had probably just finished discussing it with someone, so he was still excited to watch the show. "I watched it," Fang Zhao replied. Directly participating was considered watching, right? Hey, seeing 2S and Boom suffer a setback, it feels so good. I just don't know who the mysterious person who beat Kuzimo and Olaf is. He must be very pleased with himself now, right? What's there to be pleased about bullying little kids? Fang Zhao asked. It was just a lesson. There was nothing to be pleased about. Kuzimo was just a little rude and had directly criticized Fang Zhao, but that was all. Fang Zhao just treated it as a small lesson for Kuzimo being young and insensible. If Fang Zhao really wanted to be ruthless, he could make Kuzimo feel 10 times, 100 times worse. Bullying little kids? That's true. I heard that the mysterious person is a god in racing games. Sigh, anyway, watching Kuzimo crash his car is quite satisfying. That kid was just showing off in an interview 2 days ago. Now he's been slapped in the face. Oh, right, I almost forgot to tell you. I just received news that Fiery Bird's Yangju branch has invited us to attend a press conference. I just asked around and they will be holding a few press conferences before the official release of the game. They will release some promotional videos or merchandise. Anyway, there will definitely be gifts when we go. When? Fang Zhao asked. The day after tomorrow at 2 p.m. dinner included. Besides us, who else will be attending? We will be attending as the Polar Light team. Besides us, there will be other esports clubs and media. Oh, 2S and Boom will be attending too. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.